Hello, guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined, as ever, by Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, we are well and truly at the business end of a breathtaking five-star Grand Prix, and I think it's fair to say at this point that all possible expectations for this tournament have not only been blown out of the water, they have been blown into a different stratosphere after this 1-2-3 punch that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, you're not kidding. However, your overall pick is still alive and well, Rob Goodwin. Still alive and well. I don't think anybody would pick these final four, but I mentioned during the primer, this is the opportunity tournament. And boy howdy, has one Rina taken the opportunity
Hell
to
yeah, man.
bust everybody's bracket. Obviously, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the three shows. We're going to talk about what we think is going to happen coming up this Saturday. We're going to talk about Andy Header watching the wrong show for Tak Joshi and finding out 10 minutes on air. I was going to text you, but I was like, one, you're at AEW, which I do want to talk about, and two, it's going to make for great podcasting material. And he was like, should I edit this out? And I was like, 100% no. This is great podcasting
Amazing.
material. You keep it on, buddy. I love Andy. He's just the best. But Rob Goodwin, if anybody wants to know how I'm doing in one word, groovy. I am groovy.
Yes.
For those of you who listen to the Marigold Stand, that's our new thing now, is that we're groovy. We're groovy.
Groovy.
Rob, I talked to you for a little bit yesterday and a little bit this morning. How was AEW? I'm assuming they do Dynamite, Collision, and did they do some Ring of Honor tapings as well?
It was long. And I know that a couple of people who I'm friends with on Twitter and things were there. I know that Kevin was there. And then obviously I went with former host of the Stardom Cast, Chris, and obviously Garth as well. It was a great day. It was really, really good. Couple of interesting points. So we got there and they did 3 Ring of Honor matches. Grado came out. Huge pop for this segment with Lance Archer. Scotty 2 Hotty wrestled and got probably the biggest reaction of the entire night. And then it was Dynamite followed immediately by Collision. So we got there at 5 o'clock. Doors were at 11:30. And the show was still going on at 11:25. It was a very, very, very long day. Now, what I will say is, because I don't know how much of the Collision, I think all the Collision card has now been announced anyway, but they had, just on a random show, Takeshita versus Ishii.
Wow.
And ladies and gentlemen, definitely tune in to watch that, because that match was absolutely sensational. It was brilliant. There was also the 10-person, I think, with Hiromu. I don't know if it was an 8-person, a 10-person, or a 6-person. Because by this point, Matt, and I will be going into this in a moment, I'd just gone hunger. All I could focus on was how damn hungry I was. So that match was great. The open Collision. Obviously, I don't know what the order is going to be for the actual show. And yeah, there was some really good women matches. William Nightingale and Queen Aminata versus the Triangle of Madness. That was really good. Megan Bain absolutely destroyed Isla Dawn. Isla Dawn was on the show, which I thought was really nice in her home city. Overall, Collision was significantly better than Dynamite, which is very weird to say, but considering it was your go home for Forbidden Door, you had no Okada, no Omega, no Ibushi, no Swerve. The only MJF bit was basically him threatening to burn a man alive on a taped thing. There was no promotion whatsoever for, at least live. There might have been on TV. I don't know if that was when it was announced that Bozilla was a part of the 4-way, which we'll talk about shortly. But there was nothing in the venue, just the same video package rolling over and over again. And it felt very weak, Dynamite, apart from FTR versus Brodito, which was excellent. That was a really good match. But yeah, Collision was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the main event of the actual night was Young Bucks versus Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong.
That had to be great. Yeah, that had to be great.
Yeah, I mean, to have that, Takeshita and Ishii, The women's match, which was brilliant, Willow Nightingale's phenomenal. And then obviously if that had been the go home collision, the go home Dynamite, I'd have been over the moon. And again, there was good matches. It just felt a bit, I don't know, weird. But yes, anyway, the main issue, and this is nothing to do with AEW. This is to do with the venue, the Hydro in Glasgow. So we got there, and basically we'd had nothing to eat because we were like, oh, we'll just get a hot dog or something in the venue because it's a concert venue. There's going to be hot dogs and stuff.
The worst thing to put in your body, by the way. Your Uncle MT does not. It's better than nothing, I guess. But anyway, continue.
It's all right because I put even worse stuff in my body out of necessity. So, and you will be absolutely horrified at why I ended up eating at 25 to 12 at night. So anyway, we got to. So the system was you had to queue up to use the screen to order your things, and that's where you paid. Then you got a receipt, and you joined another queue to give that receipt to a cashier who then got all your stuff together, which begs the question, feel like that's two queues when it could just be one.
Right.
That aside, got onto the food bit of my little iPad. Only things were crisps and chocolate. And I was like, I've just seen a hot dog machine. What the hell? Doors opened at 5:30, and by 5 to 6, there was no kiosk in the entire venue with hot food. I was like, this can't be right. This cannot be right. So anyway, went in. I was like, it's fine. I've got 2 pints of beer and a pint of cider. I'm all good.
Hell yeah.
I'm buzzed. It's fine. And I bought a packet of squashies because, why not?
What's squashies? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. What's squashies? I'm trying to get
the white, drumstick lollies. Do you get drumstick lollies in the United States?
Lollipops. Okay.
Yeah, basically, but the sweetie version of them.
Okay.
So, not the thing I thought I'd have to explain today, weirdly. So, got a packet of them, and I was like, I'm going to have to get something hot afterwards. So, watched all the Ring of Honor stuff, watched Ospreay's promo. Ospreay's promos improved significantly over the past 4 years. It's really quite telling how different his promos are than they were before. Watched the Death Riders versus Tanner and Jet Speed, and was like, right, I'll go and find some hot food now. Because I'd seen people coming in with chips. And I was like, right, so somewhere in this godforsaken venue, there is going to be chips. Went on a mission. Matt, I tell you not one word of a lie. I could not find anywhere where there was chips. Not one place. So by this point, I'm like, I do not understand this. Maybe they'll restock the hot dogs in between Dynamite and Collision. So I waited till the end of Dynamite, watching this person 2 rows in front of me snaffle this chips and curry sauce. By this point, he's my worst enemy in the venue. He is the Swerve Strickland to my Hangman Page at this point. So anyway, we get to the end of Dynamite, and I go for another walk, as does Garth at this point, because Garth is equally angry at the fact that there's no food and he can see people. Long story short, it was only at the end of Collision that we found out that there were 3 food trucks outside the venue. They were serving no hot food inside the venue at all. All of it was outside, and the queue was astronomical for the majority of the show. We found that out. I saw no signs for this whatsoever. So this was 20 past 11. So I was like, I'm going to have to get something. Otherwise, I'm just going to be I don't deal well when I'm hungry. I don't mind telling you. Anyone that has spent time with me knows how hangry I get. So anyway, we went to a chip shop, and weirdly, there was a Barber's open at 10 to 12 at night. Didn't know that was a thing.
Like a Brutus the Barber beefcake?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a man getting his head shaved in a barber's. I was like, at 10 to 12? Anyway, got into a chip shop, and I had the greatest thing in the world, and I can almost hear Matt's body just tensing. I had chips, melted cheese, and shawarma with a huge lashing of garlic mayo. Now, do I feel like arse now? Absolutely. Was it basically the holy grail at 10 to 12? You better believe it. So the experience was good. was not happy about the food situation. I've got a feeling that someone is going to message me and just say, it was actually signposted everywhere, you're just blind. But even so, I was very, very, very hungry, Matt.
I think that's awesome. You had shawarma. I never had it before, but I know that's the big key to the end of the very first Avengers movie, where
I thought you'd enjoy that.
After Tony Stark saves the world. Spoilers for a movie 13 years old, folks. So
just in case you didn't know how the Avengers
ended. Case, yeah. So he's like, let's all get shawarma. So they're like, yeah, okay, Tony Stark, you just saved the world. We're all going to get shawarma. So, but I'm glad that after all that, you had a really good experience, my friend. I'm glad you had a fun time. I was really excited to watch Dynamite. But I think I got maybe to 30 minutes of it. And the next thing I know, Amber was waking me up. She's like, you need to go to bed. So because I got up at 3:00 to watch the Stardom show because I wanted to go.
Of course, yeah.
Because the Stardom show started at 5:30 and I was like, I'm going to go to the gym beforehand on my day off. So on my day off from work, I was in the gym at 3:30. So
you're an animal. You're an animal.
I was wired. And you know what? I was like, I should do that more often because I had some caffeine. I had the Matt Turner protein shake, which you've had before. All of my system getting ready to watch the Stardom show. So I was like, maybe that's what I'll do from now on. As I'll get up, I'll go to the gym before I watch said Stardom show. So, like I said, I pretty much passed out on the couch at 8:30. I'll probably try to watch Dynamite tonight. But what I did want to ask you, Rob, is how was the tag match with Mercedes and Athena versus Alex Windsor and Toni Storm?
It was good. It was good. And obviously, you've got the star power of Toni Storm and Mercedes as well. But Toni Storm in particular, Toni Storm was perhaps the biggest star on the entire show, with the exception of maybe Hangman. Toni got an enormous pop. But Alex Windsor didn't at any point feel like she was the odd one out in that match, despite the star power in that match. But dude, Athena is so good. Like, I mean, the stuff she can do is absolutely wild. I turned to Chris halfway through the match and I was like, what did WWE drop the ball with her? Like, she's got great charisma. I mean, I know they gave her a really janky character that they weren't sure if she was magic or not, which is never a good sign if you've got a magic character in the WWE who notoriously don't do well, unless you're Papa Shango, of course.
Damn right.
Absolutely. The Lord of Voodoo himself. But she's got incredible charisma and just incredible in ring. And just think about what she'd be doing nowadays. I mean, I'm so glad she's getting the recognition she's getting for just being an absolutely phenomenal worker. But she was great. Had a really good exchange with Toni, which is obviously what we're building to at Forbidden Door. Pile driver on the steps looked nasty. But yeah, that was the main event. So I was really quite surprised he put that on as the main event, to be perfectly honest. But I'm glad they did.
Yeah, again, I'm glad you told me it's the main event, so I kind of know what to shift through. So appreciate it. You're the Darren Chatton to my for AEW.
I'm never going to be that good.
No, I obviously love AEW. It was just a long yet great day for me yesterday, where it was just like, yeah, I'm watching TV. Next thing you know, it's like, yeah, you might wanna get to bed. But I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad that you got home safe. That's the most important thing, my friend. I'm glad that you're here with me this week on the Stardom Cast, because boy howdy, we have some slightly above average professional wrestling to talk about, good sir.
Yeah, we it's been all right, hasn't it? As Stardom fans, we've had it pretty good. Is all I'll say. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the show from the Yokohama Budokan, the show from at City in Hamamatsu, and then of course the Korakuen Hall show as well. So we'll have the end of the blocks and then the playoffs and quarterfinals. Obviously, we now know who the semi-finalists are going to be. Some huge shocks. I think we can agree. Obviously, if you're listening to this, fingers crossed you've already seen the show. Otherwise, huge spoiler warning. Rina getting through and beating Natsupoi was a huge bracket buster. I mean, when we did our little preview episode, our sort of instant reaction to the end of the blocks, I think both of us and the vast majority of at least
the world.
So, well, yeah, I was going to say Western fans, but yeah, let's be honest, the world had a Natsupoi and Soriano final pegged. And for Poi to go out before the semi-finals is really quite shocking, but what a rub for Rina that is. And it doesn't feel at all like it's not deserved, because in terms of her action in this tournament, she's been unbelievable.
Yeah, especially the way that Natsupoi was positioned. Like it was, they put her in the main event
Main event, yeah.
of night one, and then they put her in the main event here because we kind of figured, when they're running through the card, and obviously we're going to get into it in about 3 hours. That's about how long this is going to take, folks. But when we're running through the card, we kind of figured the Suri match is going to be the main event, or the Saya Kamatani match is going to be the main event.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, it's not. And I think I even text you, and I'm like, Natsupoi is the main event. You know what that means? She's going to win this, and she's going to win the whole thing because you position Natsupoi in the main event of night one of the 5-star Grand Prix, which the final night is in the same building. What's your final show before the pay-per-view on Saturday? This one in a jam-packed, super loud Korakuen Hall. Everybody got crazy over. So it's like, okay, you're going to have Natsupoi be the last thing that you see on night one, the last thing you see before the final night. So clearly they're positioning Natsupoi to win the whole thing. And then for her not to make it to the pay-per-view, and the building her and Soriano sold out about 4 months ago, was kind of a head scratcher. But I kind of have, once we get there, Rob, we'll get there. So hang tight with us, folks. I kind of have the positive Matt Turner spin on, because obviously this is a huge rub for Rina, and she's now at a level of star power that she'll never come back down from. She is very much, and I have her and Ami Sourei kind of in the same category, coming off this fantastic 5-star, that they're now main eventers. You can put them in the main event scene with the Momo, with the Saya Kamatani, with an Azumi, with the Starlight Kid. They're now upper echelon in the Stardom, kind of in the Stardom roster right now. And kudos to the booking, because wow, like I said, this was the opportunity tournament, and everybody really stepped up their game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's a single person, despite how popular Natsupoi is and how, incredibly over she is with the roster, especially in Korakuen Hall, Rina was getting the louder chants during that match. Rina was the star. And I mean, that Korakuen Hall crowd were absolutely molten for everything on that show. From the moment that Suzu and Bozilla decided they were just going to beat the hell out of each other for 8 minutes, which was a fantastic way to open the card. That crowd were absolutely molten. The Momo chants, the Azumi chants, when obviously we had the huge upset of her beating Saya, which is obviously going to set something up a little bit later down the road, we both agree. And obviously the Rina chants during the Natsupoi match. I don't think there's a single person who's sad. Not sad, is disappointed that Rina has gone through, should I say. Obviously there'll be disappointment in the fact that Natsupoi hasn't made it through, but I think everyone, especially the way that Rina has gone through, the fact that she has done it with the hydrangea in Korakuen Hall, in this perfect mirror image of how Hana Kimura won the 5-star in that same venue with that same move. Lovely symmetry. I really appreciate that. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, Matt Turner. Let's first talk about what on earth is coming up on our Patreon this week.
Patreon, we just released Tag Team Breakdown, where myself and Andy Header, we break down an instant classic match from earlier this year, back when Suzu Suzuki and Starlight Kid, when they were both part of Neo Genesis. You remember that Crazy Tiger Girl taking on the hate duo of Momo Watanabe and Saya Kamatani. That was back, I believe, on the 3rd of January, just a few days after both Starlight Kid and Saya Kamatani won their respective titles back at Dream Queendom. So I have not seen that match in its entirety since I watched it live on the 3rd of January. Always great watching with Andy Header, as we always break down, the psychology of the match. Really great stuff there. Alternate commentary that I released this past week. Again, it is the summer of Saya Kamatani. You can't do an alternate commentary without doing her biggest win to date. And the alternate commentary, Rob Goodwin, was Saya Kamatani winning the World of Stardom Championship against Tam Nakano from Dream Queendom last year. So that is the alternate commentary. And then coming up next week, my alternate commentary, it's not set in stone, but I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to, as it has been the last alternate commentary for the summer of Saya Kamatani, I'm going to be doing an Artist of Stardom Championship match that I've not seen in quite some time, as the Prominence trio of Suzu Suzuki, Karuma Haragi, and Risa Sera taking on, I just want to watch more Queen's Quest, Rob. I just want to watch more Queen's Quest. The Queen Quest trio, the greatest trio ever. Utami Hayashishita, Saya Kamatani, and Azumi. So more than likely, that will be the more than likely that will be the alternate commentary that'll be released next week. Also next week, I'm just about done with the homework. I'm probably going to record it this weekend. It's going to be my review of Saya Kamatani in last year's 5-star Grand Prix. So Saya Kamatani, her entire 2024 run in last year's 5-star Grand Prix, that'll be on your Patreon feed, as well as Is It Still 5 Stars? Myself and Andy Header go back and watch, in my opinion, what is the greatest Wonder Stardom Championship match of all time, as Suzuki challenges Saya Kamatani back from the Triangle Derby back in March of 2023. Also, that's what's on the Patreon. Free feed, folks. Talk Joshi coming up at the end of this week will be on your feed. I mentioned just a little bit ago, we are going to be reviewing Sendai Girls. And by we, I mean mostly me, because Andy Header watched the wrong Sendai Girls show. So what happens is we're recording like 10 minutes in, and we're talking about the potential what is going to be the final of the 5-star Grand Prix. That's kind of just our lead in. So I start talking about the Sendai Girls show, and he's like, yeah, I didn't watch the show from Sendai Pit. I'm like, what show did you watch? He's like, I watched the one from Korakuen Hall that had that double main event of Hazuki and Dash Chisako in the hardcore match, and then Red Energy versus Team 200K. So
brilliant.
We're like 10, 11 minutes in. He's like, do you want me to edit this? I'm like, no, absolutely not. This is podcast gold. This is great. Like the late great Roddy Piper would always say, leave it in, because this is, you're letting people in behind the door. So I thought it was really great podcasting stuff. I went through the show from Sendai Girls that had Hazuki versus Shiro Hashimoto, as well as Red Energy taking on Ryo Mizumori and Manami. Two great final matches to end that show. And then I basically just figured at the end, I'm like, buddy, you already watched the Sendai Girls show from Korakuen Hall. Why don't you talk about the last two matches? So we did. We talked about some Tokyo Joshi Pro. So, folks, it's really entertaining podcasting. It's a
smorgasbord.
Yeah, we made it for really fun stuff. And then basically what we're going to do is next week, more than likely, we're going to our Talk Joshi episode. And then I will make sure Andy Header does watch the right show. We're going to be talking about the Sendai Girls.
Maybe send him the link.
We're going to be talking about the Sendai Girls show from this that's going to be taking place this Sunday, that has Mutual Love on it, and as well as Sari versus Miko Wada. It's an absolutely loaded show. And then I'm going to put something out probably today or tomorrow on social media, because we have a lot of people asking us to review the Tokyo Princess Cup from Tokyo Joshi Pro, because we talked about a few matches at the end of this week's episode. So I'm going to see what matches should we watch, and then talk about it on Talk Joshi next week. So a lot of great stuff, Rob, not only on Patreon, but the free feed as well. Obviously, we have the 5-star Grand Prix over on the Marigold Standard. We're talking about the Dream Star. And on Talk Joshi, we're talking about some Sendai Girls and some great stuff from Tokyo Joshi Pro. So we are rocking and rolling, firing on all cylinders, good sir.
And I just want to give myself a little bit of a plug. Coming up on Saturday on the free feed, so 1 p.m. British Standard Time, which is 8 a.m. Eastern Standard, I think. We are going to be releasing our retrospective of Mayu Iwatani's Stardom career, called it From Shut Into Icon, a retrospective of the Stardom career of Mayu Iwatani. It's recorded, it's ready to go. An hour and 30 minutes of me talking, so I can only apologize, but that is coming up for everyone on the free feed, and the written version as well. So the entire transcript will be on Patreon as well. Again, completely free. You've just got to click the link in the podcast description if you want to read rather than listen to it, which, again, having listened to my voice for 35 years, I completely understand if that's your jam. But yes, it's something I've worked very hard on, and has been something like a year in the making. So fingers crossed it goes down well and does justice to a career that is never going to be eclipsed in terms of Stardom. So make sure you check that out, and any feedback at all is very much appreciated, whether it's oh my god shut up, or whether it is we want to hear more long form retrospectives like this, then please let me know. I have got one sort of in the back of my mind that I would like to do next, whether again, of course. Every single match of the career of Fukigen Death, which again I'm sure people would absolutely adore. But yeah, again, we'll wait to see what the feedback is to this. So that will be coming out on your podcast feeds on Saturday. So yeah, please message me, let me know what you think. I'm genuinely wanting feedback for that.
I did read the transcript of this, folks, and it is absolutely fantastic. I know Rob does not, and he never gives himself enough credit. He will not put himself over, so I will do that for him because that's what an independent wrestler does. I put a lot of people over, but gladly put Rob Goodwin over. It is, again, I read the transcript. It was fantastic, and I cannot wait to listen to that on Saturday, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. However, it's time to move on to some news because we have got some news to talk about as well. And I know that there's some things that, Matt, you may have covered on the Stardom Cast last week, but there are obviously some things that I do want to talk to you about. One of the things that wasn't on the podcast last week is the thing we're going to start with today, and that is that the full card has officially been announced for the 5-star Grand Prix final on the 23rd of August. I will go through it now, but we'll sort of go through it at the end of the show as well. But we have got 2 title matches as well as the 2 semi-finals and obviously the 5-star final as well. I won't do the semi-finals because obviously that will feed into our reviews a little bit later on. But in terms of our championship matches, Sari will be defending the IWGP Women's Championship versus Konami, making her first defense of that title. And then for the Future of Stardom Championship, Hina will be taking on Rana Yagami as well. So, Matt, you thought that there might be some title matches. You weren't sure if perhaps we were getting Saya versus B, which we are getting, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You thought we might be getting Starlight Kid and Tomoka Inaba, but I don't think Tomoka Inaba is even. Yes, she is. She's in a tag match. She
against,
is
against I think opposite Starlight Kid. So you think
yeah,
you know
so they are
1,000%
setting that up for.
Don't say that every time that you say that. It really, even every time you say 100% or 1,000%. Like for and the example I'm going to do. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but every time you say 100% or 1,000%, you jinx it. And the example I'm going to go to is when we were leaving WWE World during WrestleMania weekend, because we got out of the EO line really fast. And like, we're 100% going to meet Hazuki and Starlight Kid because where WrestleCon was like a football field away. And then I checked the pictures, and for the first, and I've been using Epic Photos for New York Comic Con for over 10 years. I checked the pictures, and the picture they sent was EO and somebody that wasn't me. So we had to go back, and even the guy's like, I've been working here 7 years. I've never seen that before because Rod put the jinx on it. Now, folks, if you listen to our podcast,
we did meet Hazuki. I don't understand the issue.
We did, but I was like, as soon as you said it, I looked at my phone and it was like, ha ha ha. I was like, how is that even possible? Like I said, even the guy working there is like 7 years. I've never even seen that. How is that like the barcodes are supposed to match up? So then Monday, folks, if you listen to kind of our little preview, what we're doing for Korakuen Hall, Rob goes 100%. They're doing Soriano versus Natsupoi in the finals. Natsupoi's not even on the pay-per-view now. That is the ultimate. I just want to point
out.
Go ahead.
Nobody bats 1,000. Nobody bats 1,000. But I did call the main event of Stardom to the World, and I called that as soon as they announced the pay-per-view because I texted you and said, guaranteed, the main event is going to be what we're going to talk about shortly. However, we do seem to be spacing these title matches out, which I think we talked about during the show on Monday. We sort of talked about Stardom have got a lot of big shows coming up in not a lot of time. So they'll want to sort of slow burn a couple of these matches, which I think is wise. And again, you don't want, a red belt match or a white belt match necessarily taking away from what could be a completely wild final for the 5-star Grand Prix, because it could quite literally be any combination of the 4 women in there. But just very quickly, aside from the semifinals and the final, which we'll get into in a moment, the rest of the card is as follows. IWGP Women's Championship match, I mentioned Sari defending that belt against Konami, which again, with the heat behind Hate and Sari at the moment, that could be very, very tasty, especially if they increase the violence from their match on the opening night. Future of Stardom Championship match, Hina versus Rana Yagami and all God's Eye affair. I apologize. B Priestley is going to be teaming with Wingori, Hanan, and Sayurita against the Hate team of Saya Kamatani, Natsuko Tora, and Ruaka. EXV, Hanako, Wax, Tsukiyama, and Rian will be teaming against the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi, Sayaka, Kurora, and Aya Sakura. We've got a high-speed 3-way, Mei Seira versus Yuna Mizumori versus Saki Kashimura. Again, don't forget that Yuna beat Mei in the blocks. So I do anticipate that setting up a high-speed title match down the road as well. Mavida Loka, Suzu Suzuki, Rina Yamashita, and Akira Kuragane will be taking on Fukuoka Double Crazy, Hazuki and Kagome, who I feel like we haven't seen in Stardom in a hot minute, and the debuting Dark Silhouette from CMLL. Neo Genesis, Starlight Kid, and Mio Amasaki are going to be taking on the God's Eye team of Ami Sauri and Tomoka Inaba. Again, Matt, I think we both know where that's going. And then Peach Lily, not Peach Rock, which I put in the notes because clearly I'm just craving Mayu and Momo again. Peach Lily, Uriah Hime, and Momo Kogo versus the God's Eye team of Lady C and a returning Kyoko Katatsu versus Emma Maishima and Kikyo Furusawa versus Hate, Azusa Inaba, and Fukiken Death. Matt, it's a good card. Again, we are sort of focusing on those four matches. Sorry, the final, the semi-finals, and then Sari and Konami. But again, if Sari and Konami are able to channel even half of the heat in the feud between her and the rest of Hate, then that is going to be very, very tasty, if a little bit predictable, because Sari is absolutely going to be getting her win back.
Yeah, I mean, I know again on Monday when we record, I kind of fantasy booked what this card could look like. I was thinking we're going to do Saya versus B on this show. We're going to do Starlight Kid versus Tomoka Inaba. Obviously, we didn't get that, but we are getting a lot of great matches. Again, Sari versus Konami, that's going to be fantastic. But again, I think that's very predictable considering the fact the semifinals and finals, no clue. And I cannot wait to talk to you about what your prediction is, because I still don't know what it is. And I don't think you do either. So we're going to kind of walk and talk and call that on the fly. We look at everything else they're setting up. My guess is Tomoka Inaba is probably going to pin Miyu Amasaki and then set up the Starlight Kid match for the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Those tickets are selling really well. We do have the B. Priestley versus Sai Kamatani match in tag form. And B. Priestley just happened to be teaming with, in my opinion, the best tag team in all of wrestling this year in Wing Gory. And Sai Kamatani just happens to be teaming with the Goddess of Stardom tag team champions in BMI 2000. So that's going to be really interesting. That 4-way tag looks really, really good as well. And then we have the return of FWC taking on a trio from Evelita Voca, where that does have Suzu Suzuki. So Hazuki versus Suzu Suzuki Violence, always up my alley. So this looks like a really bad. And then obviously Rana Yagami versus Hina. They had a great match at All-Star Grand Queendom. Great match just a few weeks ago on the 5-star Grand Prix. And then this is kind of going to be the rubber match between the two. Coming up this Saturday, you add in Azumi versus Rina. You add in Soriano versus Momo Watanabe, and the winners of them obviously wrestling each other. This is going to be another great Stardom show. We had a phenomenal one on Saturday, fantastic one on Sunday. Wednesday, which we're going to get into, one of my favorite wrestling shows of the year. Just incredible. Mm-hmm. Then you're throwing this on. It's just like wowzers. And what a great time to be a Stardom fan. It really, really is.
This, by the way, will air on pay-per-view. There will be English commentary, but the English commentary will be added in post, the same as the Korakuen Hall show and the upcoming pay-per-view Stardom to the World. So it is coming. It'll be done in post by Walker Stewart. The show, August 23rd, this coming Saturday in Outer Ward City Gymnasium. Moving on slightly then, Matt, you may well have talked about this on the previous Stardom show, but I just want to remind everyone that New Japan and Stardom have announced historic crossover 3 in Guangzhou, China on October 5th. This correlates with the fact that Stardom have also announced the Stardom to the World show, which will be taking place on the 6th of September. We've now got 2 matches confirmed for that show, which we'll talk about shortly. That'll be taking place from the Yokohama Budokan. And then we have got, again, from the Outer Ward City Gymnasium on the 3rd of November. That will be called Stardom Crimson Nightmare. That show will have live English commentary. But Matt, no, the first time Stardom, I believe, have gone to China. This promises to be a very, very exciting show.
Yeah, again, I mean, this is really cool. They're bringing this back. They waited, I think, 2 years from Historic Crossover 1 to Historic Crossover 2. Both of them were great shows. They did very well, but now this time we're taking it over to China. So really cool seeing New Japan and Stardom to really try to break into the market over there at China. So again, I'm all for it. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the pairings pair off. Do we get Mike and Zack Sabre Jr. again? Do we get Desperado and Starlight Kid again? I think you almost kind of have to. But it's going to be really interesting to see how the certain pairings go. So I'm all for a Gabe Kidd versus Shuri match. Maybe that's just me, Rob, but no, I'm super pumped for it. It's always really nice to see whenever these companies are doing the crossovers.
Yeah, so this is from the Dynamite 66 Live House in Guangzhou in China, and it's going to be put on in conjunction with Chinese wrestling promotion Infin Wrestling. A couple of matches have already been announced. I know that there is an exhibition match from Infin Wrestling, but I'm not familiar enough with the talent to actually tell you what that match is, so I apologize about that. There is some New Japan matches that have been announced. Zack Sabre Jr. will be taking on Kushida in singles action, and Ninja Mac and Master Wato as well. Confirmed from Stardom's point of view has been Natsupoi, Soriano, Starlight Kid, Miyu Amasaki, Natsuko Tora, Rina, and Ruaka. There's no word as of yet if that's the only Stardom talent that will be on the card or if there will be more, but they are the confirmed names at the moment. Moving on again and again, we look more at Stardom going international, and that is because we are finally, after a long time wondering who it could be, we know who the Stardom representation is going to be at this weekend's Forbidden Door. Mercedes Moné is going to be defending the TBS Championship in a four-way with Persephone representing CMLL, Alex Windsor representing AEW, and now we know that representing Stardom is the biggest European powerhouse. It is, of course, Bozilla, who did tease at the end of the Korakuen show that she was going to be, in her words, flying to London and kicking down the Forbidden Door. And sure enough, AEW have announced that she will be at the show. I think this is a great shout for Stardom to send Bozilla over. I think Bozilla is going to be a massive hit on this AEW show. I know that Mercedes, and I've said this before when I sort of made my prediction that it might be Bozilla, I think Mercedes is going to sell something awesome for Bozilla. I saw I've seen lots of examples of Mercedes is selling for bigger talents. And again, Bozilla is someone that is going to ragdoll her around the ring, and Mercedes is going to make it look very, very good. Don't think she wins, unfortunately, but what I do think is there's going to be a lot of people talking about her after the show. We said this when we went to the GCW show, if you remember, and when she had the match with Megan Bayne. And she came out, looked awesome with the mask, but not a great deal of people in the venue were overly familiar with who she was. And then by the end of the show, it was at least 50-50 chance between her and Megan Bayne. So it's going to be really exciting to see what she can do with a typically vocal London crowd.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I don't see the belt changing hands, but I still think this is going to be a terrific match. Persephone, for the little bit that I've seen, really impressed with her. Alex Windsor, great pickup for AEW. Obviously, Mercedes between wrestling and star power. Not many people on her level. And then throwing in Bozilla, absolutely perfect shot. I mean, and it's the perfect time for her to be on this big show in front of, I think there's like 17 or 18,000 tickets sold. Obviously, AEW, their pay-per-view numbers go up and up and up. There'll be probably about 110,000 buys on this. So a lot of eyes are going to be on Bozilla, and just coming off this fantastic run in the 5-star Grand Prix. I mean, great matches all around, with Ami Sourei, great match with The Rock on night one. Obviously, we're getting to that phenomenal match from Korakuen Hall, and one of the best Korakuen Hall openers in the history of that building, regardless if it's Stardom, Marigold, All Japan, New Japan. Start off. Bozilla is red and white hot right now, and now you're putting her on the Forbidden Door in less than a week's time. I mean, just a perfect way to capitalize, not only for Bozilla, not only for AEW, but for Stardom as well, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to see Bozilla for the first time, because I know I have friends of mine that only watch AEW and WWE that are going to be blown away by Bozilla, which means on Sunday, my phone will be blowing up. People will be asking, what is the Bozilla? Give me some matches to recommend. So super excited for her to get this opportunity, and it's something that she has richly earned, Rob. I don't like the word deserved, because nobody deserves anything in this world. You earn it. And Bozilla has absolutely earned this opportunity. And then when she comes back to Stardom, she's even going to be a bigger star. Again, coming off that fantastic 5-star Grand Prix and coming off this match that I know she's going to hit an absolute home run in.
Yeah. Again, I have no doubt that she is going to be incredibly over in this building. I think as well, I don't think anyone is under the impression that Bozilla is going to be in Stardom forever. I think, there are going to be sort of thoughts to where is she going to go next? What is the next step for Bozilla, however long her tour is with Stardom, whether it's, like a Marigold deal where she goes for a year, or whether this is it, whether she just does the 5-star, although she was in the promotional material for the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, so she may do that, whether it's a 6-month deal, 3-month deal, whatever. Where does she go next? And this could well be not necessarily a trial, but, something where AEW have got their eye on her to see what she can do and see what she's all about. And if that's the case, I have no doubt that she's going to interest a lot of people. But this is going to be... Go on.
If you remember what happened at Forbidden Door last year, Mercedes Moné defended said belt against Stephanie Verker, and then AEW tried to sign her, and WWE was like, absolutely not. So that could be the same thing here.
Imagine Bozilla turns up on NXT the next week. But yes, this is going to be taking place on Forbidden Door, Sunday the 24th of August. The O2 Arena will be live on pay-per-view, 6 p.m. British Standard Time. How nice is it, British wrestling fans, to have a pay-per-view at a reasonable hour, 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Moving on then, we've already alluded to it, but Bea Priestley is next in line for the World of Stardom Championship. First time in 4 years, actually, that she has challenged for this belt. So after, again, spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen the Korakuen Hall show, after Saya Kamatani dropped the fall to Azumi in what might well be match of the tournament so far, Priestley interrupted her backstage comments, demanded a match for Stardom to the World on the 6th of September, and it seems that Saya Kamatani has accepted. Of course, this all comes from Bea Priestley defeating Saya Kamatani, inflicting on her first Stardom singles loss in 350 days. To put her back in line for the World of Stardom Championship. It will be Bea's first challenge for the belt since the last match of her previous run in Stardom back in 2021. And Matt, would you believe it? Against Utami Hayashishita, what venue was it in?
Was it in the Yokohama Budokan?
It was in the Yokohama Budokan. So everything coming full circle for Bea Priestley. First of all, before we get into a rather interesting thing that Saya Kamatani said during an interview. What are your thoughts on the match itself? Are you excited for the match? I assume that we're not going to see a title change. The title change would be bold. Let's say that, but I think this is a chance for Saya to wrestle back a bit of singles wrestling momentum.
Yeah, again, because it's like you can even build into it that it's like, boy, she was on a hot streak, not losing a singles match in a Stardom ring for like a year, losing to Bea Priestley, losing to Azumi. So it's like, is she starting to get into that losing streak that sometimes we see in sports, that it's just like once they lose, they can't get their momentum back. So that's a story you could bring into. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen, and we'll talk about that in the next week or so when we preview this show. But I love the match. I thought their match on Sunday was great. Again, it was the last match of the tournament before we got into the semifinals or the quarterfinals and the playoffs. Again, we'll talk about it in a few moments. I thought it was great. I thought it was Bea's best match in the tournament. She had a great match with May Sarah, great match with Hanan, great match with Rina, again in Korakuen Hall. I thought they had really great chemistry. And the fact that it was almost kind of like a feeling out process between the two of them. And now that they've been in the ring with each other as much as they were in that match on Sunday, they're going to have more familiarity with each other. And I think they're going to put on an absolute banger. It's more than likely to be the main event of that show, a show that's selling tickets really, really well. And I think they're going to have an absolute home run. Really excited for it. Again, I love their match on this past Sunday. I think they're going to have even a better match when the richest prize in all of wrestling is on the line, the red belt, the World of Stardom Championship. So it's really cool seeing Bea Priestley back in Stardom. I thought her run was fantastic. I thought her 5-star run was terrific. I made mention halfway through. I was like, I hope this isn't just she's in and then she's out. Clearly not. Again, her 5-star run is over. However, her run in Stardom not over just yet. Having a shot, not only at the red belt, but in my opinion, Rob Goodwin, the best wrestler in all of wrestling in 2025. On what is going to be a loaded show in front of a lot of fans. Because again, the tickets are selling really, really well. They have not announced that white belt match yet. We think they're going to do it on Saturday, and possibility maybe for a rematch as well. So for the IWGP Joshi Championship. So yeah, I'm super excited to watch these two run it back.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be talking about Bea's tournament as a whole over over the next couple of hours, because genuinely, I think she's surpassed expectations. I don't think she's had a bad match. I think she's had several really good matches, which of course you've already listed. So I think a championship, as soon as it was announced that the last match of the Red Stars block was going to be Bea Priestley and Saya Kamatani, I think on our preview episode, we both highlighted it as I think Bea's getting the win there and setting up a title challenge. Something that Saya has mentioned on Twitter, or at least the link is on Twitter for an interview she did, was she mentioned the mutinous nature of both of them. Obviously, both of them have turned their backs, respectively, on Queen's Quest to join Oedetai/Hate.
Awful.
And absolutely, poison is what it is. Toxic, Matt. And Saya has sort of wondered aloud as to what the future holds for Bea Priestley, and if we're going to see a turn again. It'll be interesting with Bea, because this show, Stardom to the World on the 6th of September, could well be the last time we see Bea in a Stardom ring. Obviously, we don't know her next steps. Fingers crossed. I'd love to see her go through to the end of the year. I think she's been a good addition to the Stardom roster, a solid addition to the Stardom roster. But it would be interesting if she did stay for a bit longer, where it would be, because we never actually had an official leaving of Oedetai when she left. We had the wrap up of the Momo Shopai storyline, and obviously we had the lovely moment with Utami, but we never had a resolution as to what she did with Oedetai. And we actually saw this with Konami, if you remember. Konami came back from her hiatus, having never officially left Oedetai, joined God's Eye, and then went back to Oedetai. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we do have a lengthier run from Bea, if Bea continues to be a babyface, or if we see her maybe defect to Hate and take on the sort of foreign talent role that's been left vacant by Tekla.
Where would you like to see her, Rob? Do you think she's a better heel than Baby? Because she kind of wrestled more like a baby, because she was all smiley. And again, we think it's because she's
she's happy. Unquestionably been a babyface through this tournament. Unquestionably.
Yeah. Do you think she's better as a babyface, or would you like her to see her join Hate as a heel?
I mean, Hate don't need more members. Let's be perfectly honest, especially when you throw in Fukigen Death and Azusa Rinaba, who aren't full-timers with the company. I personally think Bea is a better heel than she is babyface. However, that's not to say that her babyface run hasn't been good during the 5-star Grand Prix. It's, we said in previous episodes, to see her come out into these venues that she hasn't been in before and just look so genuinely overwhelmed and happy has been a really nice moment, especially Korakuen Hall. Sendai Pit as well was another one where she came out and was like, oh my God, I remember this venue. But yeah, personally, I prefer Bea as a heel. I think her moveset is very heelish anyway. But yeah, at the moment, she's definitely been a wrestling babyface. And again, we don't know. She might turn up in TNA. She might turn up in MLW or GCW. She might have another run with AEW. She might, again, she's got a husband in the United States. She's got, I believe, a dog in the United States. Doing the journey to and from Japan is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. So it's a lot harder than when she was just living in Japan back in 2021 and things like that. So we will see, but I personally prefer Bea as a heel.
I agree. And one quick little thing, and I keep forgetting to mention this, but now that her run's over, it's the perfect time to mention it. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I think Bea had different gear for every single show. So if that's the case, and I think I am right, the fact that she probably had to pack 2 cases of just gear.
Those cases would be huge.
Yeah, I was like, wow, she's got different gear. I'm like, I think she's got different gear for every single. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But again, obviously, I watched all of this pretty much live, and obviously full documentation right here over in this tablet, as well as the points, Rob, going, oh boy, howdy, wait till we get to the points.
Important points.
Yes, I did not text you for any spoilers. This is going to be some interesting stuff. No, I did tell you there was a tie, but that was about it. But anywho, I don't think Bea Priestley wore the same gear twice for these shows. Right. And again, if I'm wrong, let me know, which goes to show you. Again, I'm just wrestler's brain. I'm like, she's over there 2 weeks at least. That's got to be at least 2 suitcases full of just gear, Rob, just gear. So good on her. Good on her. Just keeping everything really, really fresh. Again, you can just tell just how elated and happy she was to be in Stardom, my friend.
It's not the only match that has been made official for Stardom to the world. We now know that we are getting a singles match between Natsuko Tora and Mayumi Ozaki. So Oz Academy ran their Plum no Hanasaku Oz no Kuni 2025 show in Korakuen Hall 3 days ago in front of 800 people. And during the main event, which was a three-way for the Oz Academy Openweight Championship between Shioriano, Kakeru, and Ozaki, Hate stormed the ring and a massive melee ensued. Eventually, members of the Oz Academy roster came out to even the scores, and it left Mayumi Ozaki and Natsuko Tora in the ring together. They have decided that they are going to be having a singles match at the upcoming pay-per-view on September the 6th. Matt, an interesting match, and a match we definitely didn't think that we were going to be seeing.
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. I know Ozaki's a legend. She's the one that beat the crap out of Sayaka Kurora at the Natsupoi Soriano show, right?
Absolutely blitzed her, yeah.
With the chain. Okay. I'm all for that because Tora's great at that style. Again, her and Micah, if you remember Dream Kingdom last year, unbelievable. I'm all for this match. Make it no rules. Make it no rules or relaxed rules, because that whole thing with her just beating up Miyu was Sayaka Kurora with the chain in front of the referee for 80% of the match really took me out of it. Tora's great at this style. You know this isn't going to be Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero, nor should it be. Just make it no rules or relaxed rules or something like that. Just, hate rules or wedo tie rules, whatever. Like, let's just put a stipulation on it. So this way Matt Turner is just like, I know what I'm going to get. And this is what I want to see between these two. But don't make it look like, no, we're just going to have a straight up wrestling match. And these two are just hitting each other with weapons in front of the referee. And then the referee is probably going to be the Daichi or Barb. We're just going to be like, because then it puts all the heat on the referee. You don't want that. Regardless, Rob, make this a no rules match. I'm a happy camper. This is going to be, the words of Jim Ross, bowling shoe ugly in the best way possible. Yeah, it's a matchup that I didn't think we were going to get. Once they announced it, I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be absolute carnage in the best way possible.
Speaking of absolute carnage in the best way possible, we now have a confirmed return date for Shiori. So she announced that she was going to be taking time off from Stardom, as we know, at the start of July, in order to level up overseas and recover from that elbow injury. She had successful surgery on the 24th of July, and it's now been confirmed that she will be returning to action at Oz Academy's Shinjuku Face Show on the 7th of September as we continue Sonoko Kato's retirement road. It will be Aja Kong, Sonoko Kato versus Shiori and Hikaru Shida. So a very exciting match in that regard. Of course, it will be the first time that Shida and Shiori have teamed since October 2019. The pair have previously held the Oz Academy Tag Team Championships, the Reina World Tag Team Championships, and the Sendai Girls Tag Team Championships as well. So certainly no strangers to teaming with each other. Shiori versus Aja Kong is a match we desperately want to see. So the exchange between those two are going to be very exciting. In terms of Sonoko Kato, she retires from professional wrestling with her farewell show, Final Blue Dragon, on November 23rd in Korakuen Hall.
Poor Aja Kong. She's got to wrestle Hazuki in a hardcore match this weekend, and then Shuri in just a regular match. Like, boy, it's just like everything that Aja Kong's gone through. Now you got to go through Hazuki and Shuri. All joking aside, this is great because we didn't know how long Shuri was going to be out for with that elbow injury. We thought maybe because they didn't announce the time that it might be a 1 or 2 month thing, and clearly that it is. She's teaming with Hikaru Shida. That's fantastic. I'm a massive fan of Hikaru Shida. Obviously, she hasn't been on AEW TV from quite some time. Issues, but I mean, this is going to be great to see Shida and Shuri on the same team. Obviously, Aja Kong on the opposite team. This is going to be great. Super excited for it. And this kind of begs another question, Rob. Do you think that maybe we see Shuri make an appearance on this weekend show because you have her former protege in Konami taking on the lady she is vowed to come back and win the belt from in Suri, or sorry, however you want to pronounce it. Do you think after said match, you think that Shuri comes in and then basically not to aid Konami, but maybe after the match, puts down a beating on Konami, because that's probably going to happen. I don't think that even after the bell, I don't think that one's going to be over with. And again, we'll get into it in court, but we'll talk about Korakuen. Maybe Shuri comes in to kind of veer her off, kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And then we start building up to that inevitable Sari versus Shuri rematch that we're going to get, Rob. We know we have to get it.
I don't think we see her this weekend. Simply because, as I mentioned earlier, she wants to level up overseas and recover from the injury. Her leveling up overseas was one appearance in the Battle Royal at All In. You know, we had the teases of her doing some Ring of Honor stuff. She hasn't been on Ring of Honor TV yet. I have a feeling that she will probably return at the earliest after Goddess of Stardom Tag League. Because I 100% agree with you. I think we are getting Sari versus Syuri 2, or sorry, 3 versus Syuri versus Sari 3. I think we're getting that in Dream Queendom. It's a massive match, but I think that Syuri will take more time before her recovery because, of course, we've still got Sari versus Momo Watanabe as well. We've still got that sort of rumbling feud after Korakuen as well to get through before we get to Syuri. Because I think when Sari and Syuri face off again, Syuri will get the victory. And I think Sari needs to have held the championship for a little bit longer before she potentially drops it again.
Yeah, I think that matches Dream Queendom. I think that's Sumo Hall. So I wasn't sure if you plant the seeds on this show or whatever, but we may see maybe a vignette or something after Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor next Friday, because we do have Athena versus Mina Shirakawa at the world famous ECW Arena, Rob Goodwin, which more than likely I will be going. Fortunately, I think I'm going to be going solo, as Andy Header forgot that he was booked on a wrestling show. So yeah, the old forgetful Andy Header. But you know what, Rob? You can't be mad at him because he's so lovable. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. We didn't even mean to do that. Look at that. We didn't even mean to do that.
Well, she was flown all the way to Scotland in order to just accompany Toni Storm to the ring. She wasn't on the Ring of Honor tapings. She wasn't on the Collision tapings. Mina had possibly the easiest payday she's ever had in Glasgow, Scotland. But she will be returning to the ring, as Matt mentioned, from her broken hand to face Athena at Death Before Dishonor, which will be taking place on Friday, the 29th of August at Death Before Dishonor in the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. So, Matt, if you are there, I hope you have a phenomenal time. I know that Bandido versus Hechicero is on that card as the Ring of Honor Championship match, and Lee Moriarty will be putting on the Pure Rules Championship against Zell Hua as well. So some really tasty matches on there. Just in terms of Athena, like, this run is absolutely wild. So near 1,000 days as champion, and this will be her 30th championship defense.
Wow.
Absolutely unbelievable reign from Athena.
Do you think she retains here, Rob?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as good as Mina is, I don't think she retained. I don't think she gets the belt here, especially she already holds the interim TV championship.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a great match because I was kind of 50-50 on whether I was going to go. And then once this match was announced, I was like, yeah, I didn't get my tickets yet because I was waiting to try to get media passes, which sidebar, I may as well say it on the air. After all the emails over the years I've sent AEW, they finally sent me an email back, Rob Goodwin. I finally got one back. Now, they denied my media pass, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, they actually responded back, because I cannot tell you how many matches and promo pics I've sent to try to get on AEW Dark, if you remember that, and whatnot. I've sent them so much stuff, and then I finally got a response back. So I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just my positive thinking. I'm like, that's a step in the right direction. I will take that as a quarter of a win, buddy, but at least it's a step in the right direction. So, yeah, more than likely, I will be going to this show in Philadelphia. And I may as well get myself a cheesesteak while I'm there, buddy.
Absolutely. I'd be disappointed if you didn't. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the news for this week. Of course, you can check out all of the news stories that we have gone through on patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. It's free to everyone. Don't have to sign up or anything to read the news, but a little bit more detail on there if you so wish. Patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. I suppose, Matt Turner, we should probably delve into the absolute gargantuan amount of matches that we are going to be talking about, because, again, we've got 3 shows to talk about, both the penultimate and final nights of block action and the show, including the playoffs and the quarterfinals from yesterday as well. We're going to be starting what feels like years ago, back to the 16th of August 2025, night 10 from the Yokohama Budokan. Now, the announced attendance inside the Yokohama Budokan was 1,293. Now, a couple of interesting points here. Though it is a 24.69% increase on the last time Stardom ran the venue, which was for the opening night of the Cinderella tournament when they got 1,037 people in the building, it is worth noting that this is the lowest five-star Grand Prix attendance at the venue since the opening nights of the 2021 tournament, where they drew 747 and 707. But of course, those numbers were impacted by the ongoing COVID restrictions. That being said, since these opening nights, Stardom have run the Yokohama Budokan during the five-star Grand Prix 3 times, with only one of these, being 2022, not being a final or opening night. So that's something to take into account when looking at that. In terms of your results, then, we open with Red Stars B action. All of these are tournament matches, by the way. Natsupoi moved to 8 points, defeating Rian, who remained on 0, with the kick to the head that she now calls the Crown Splitter, which, if that's the real name for it, sounds awesome, in 7 minutes and 35 seconds. Blue Stars B, Momo Kogo gets her first five-star win of the tournament to move to 2 points, defeating Hina, who remains on 4 with a La Magistral Cradle in 7 minutes and 29 seconds. Blue Stars A, Siori Ano moved to 11 points, defeating Uriah Himi, who stayed on 0, with a modified cross arm breaker / neck scissors combination in 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Blue Stars A, Miyu Amasaki moved to 6 points, defeating Ruaka, who stays on 7, with the Amana Hashidate in 3 minutes and 22 seconds, continuing something of a run of short matches for Miyu over the last couple of shows. Blue Stars A, again, Sayurita moved to 6 points, defeating Aya Sakura, who stayed on 2, with a brainbuster in 8 minutes and 3 seconds. Speaking of short matches, Matt, you know who it's time for. Red Stars A, Waka Tsukiyama moved to 2 points. Her first victory of the tournament. She defeated Azusa Inaba, who remained on 6 points with the modified Asui suplex in 48 seconds. In Red Stars A, B Priestley moved to 8 points, defeating Lady C, who stayed on 4, getting her up for the Plan B in 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Konami in Blue Stars B then moved to 6 points, defeating Hanako, who stayed on 7, submitting her with a rear naked choke in 12 minutes and 15 seconds. Red Stars B, Tomoka Inaba, who has been one of the tournament's MVPs, I think, moves to 6 points with victory over another of the tournament's MVPs, Natsuko Tora, who remained on 8 with the Tomoka Stranglehold in 12 minutes and 46 seconds. Last 3 matches now, and Stardom went a slightly different way on this show by putting the last 3 matches for free on YouTube as opposed to the first 3. So you can check all 3 of these matches out on YouTube. You can get the link from the show report on Patreon. Red Stars B, Starlight Kid Starlight Kid moved to 8 points against Rina, who went to 9 with a time limit draw, 15 minutes. Red Stars A next, Saya Kamatani moved to 6-0. Going to 12 points, defeating Mei Seira, who remained on 7 with a Star Crusher in 11 minutes and 48 seconds. And then finally, Blue Stars B main event, Sari moved to 9 points, defeating Momo Watanabe, who stayed on 8 with a wrist clutch Uranagi in 12 minutes and 29 seconds. So, Matt, we move to the opening match, Natsupoi and Rian. And again, Rian is the perfect example of someone who has benefited massively from this tournament. Another solid performance against Natsupoi, but again, she was never going to win this match, but that's not what this tournament has been about.
No, again, we talked about the opportunity tournament. We talked about the beginning of this episode, Amisori and Rina really taking the opportunity. They are now main eventers, but Rian, who again, I think like a week or 2 before the show, got her first singles win. And we're kind of like, okay, let's see what you can do, Rian. And she has, again, no points, but still having great matches. And she comes out all full of P&V on Natsupoi. You know, Natsupoi comes in, she's all smiles, doing the whole thing, gets the big pop. Rian's like, nope, drop kick, and then the RKO, the Rian cutter, right out the get-go. I was like, oh, wowzers. Like, she's like, you know, and Natsupoi has to fight from behind for the first quarter of this match, which I thought was really good. Eventually, Natsupoi, she comes back with a drop kick. then the low drop kick, really putting it on poor young Rion, Stone Cold Rion, as we call her. Stone Cold. And then she comes back with a crossbody, and then we get this brutal slap exchange. I'm like, man, we're match one, and nobody's playing around here. Nobody's playing around, though. Eventually, Rion gets a couple near falls, like a 2.7, a 2.8, 2.9. They're building towards like trying to get an upset. Is this going to be upset? And you're biting on each and every one. Eventually, Natsupoi's like, all right, enough's enough. She hits that insane release German suplex, and then hits a few of the spin kicks, and then finally hitting that rolling soda butt for the 3 count that she now calls the Crown Splitter. A really great match to start off a really great show. 3 3/4 stars for me. And again, Rion really being able to hang in this tournament with the likes of Rina, with the likes of Natsupoi, with the likes of Azumi. And then, of course, that match with Starlight Kid, one of my favorite matches of this tournament, a really hidden gem, but you got to give it to her. Again, even though at no points, Rob, she's had a really great tournament. And I'm excited to see what she does in the fall and going into the end of the year. Again, 3 3/4 stars, another win for Baipoi.
It's funny you should mention that, because Momo Kogo getting her victory here, which does feel like a reward for her excellent work through the tournament, because she's been beaten pillar to post by the likes of Momo Watanabe, by the likes of Konami, by the likes of Sadi, and she's kept getting up and she's kept taking the licks and putting on really, really good performances. So not only to get a win, but get a win over a champion. Now, it's not necessarily a championship that she can go after, unfortunately, but still a win over a champion. It's a statement win for her to get her first victory of the tournament. It also eliminated Hina from the tournament, so a little bit of a surprise. What were your thoughts on this, and of course Momokogo's tournament as a whole?
Really another great match. Hina's another one that literally everybody has leveled up. I mean, everybody has leveled up. Hina was really, her last 2 or 3 Future Stardom Championship matches were really, really good. And I was really excited she was put in this tournament. She's had a really good match after a really good match. Momo Kogo as well. These two did a lot in less than 8 minutes. They told a really good story. Momo Kogo comes out on fire, hits the 619 springboard dropkick. Hina's kind of on the back foot towards the middle of this match. She hits that judo throw that kind of slows things down, and then she uses a lion tamer to then transition into the STF. And obviously over on the other channel, as we call it, Marigold, we do have Mai Sakurai using the STF and using it well as a finisher, but we don't see too many people in Stardom using the STF. Hina's starting to use it more and more often in this tournament, and I like the way she uses it. I like the way she gets into it. I would like to see Hina use the STF maybe to set up for a finish or even get a few tap outs. So I thought that was really good. I thought the way Momo Kogo sold it really looked like she was in danger. She did a really great job getting the STF over for Hina in this match. Momo Kogo is able to get to the ropes. We get some strikes back and forth. Momo Kogo hits a really great super kick, and then we start building up towards the finish. We get the Hina special. That scores a 2 count. Momo hits the Nectar Peach for a 2 count. Hina hits the big ending and then goes for that Northern Lights jackhammer. But Momo Kogo is able to slip out and hits a really great tight Lamai straw cradle. She really had Hina pinned down really well with that. I would like to see Momo Kogo get more wins with that. I'd see just Momo Kogo get more wins in general. But I thought the way that she
wouldn't we all?
Yes, absolutely. The way that she was able to utilize that Lamai straw cradle in that point in the match, able to hold Hina down for the 3 count. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend. A really good way to set up Momo Kogo again, or not Momo, our really great match coming off that great opener with Natsupoi and Rion.
Soriano versus Uriah Himi. And again, Uriah Himi putting on an absolutely tremendous performance in what we knew would be a losing effort. And that's been, we were both surprised when it was Uriah that came out on top of Akira Kuragane to qualify for this tournament. And I think we were both of the opinion that actually Akira is more of a complete wrestler than Uriah, whereas Uriah has the star power and has that aura. Obviously, this was apparently just an audition for her to get into Stars, of which she's now been officially accepted, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this, with performances like this, where she genuinely has Soriano in trouble, at various points in this, and some of the transitions that Uriah is now doing, and again, reps in this tournament have helped this massively, are truly phenomenal. The victory for Soriano, she's now guaranteed one of the top 2 seedings in Blue Stars A. But this, for me, was actually more about Uriah than it was about Saori.
Yeah, Rob, we talk a lot, pretty much every week, about Sai Kamatani and Utami Hayashishita, the respective champions of the 2 Joshi companies we cover, when they take middle-of-the-road talent or opening match talent and bring them up to their level to make it look like they can kick the crap out of a main eventer. Soriano is a main eventer, former Wonder of Stardom champion, Artist champion, former Goddess of Stardom champion, pretty much the whole nine, and obviously one of the semifinalists going into this weekend's big show. And she takes Uriah Hime, who's only been wrestling 6 or 7 months, and you're absolutely right, partner. She makes it look like she's in trouble. She comes right out the get-go. She tries some quick roll-ups. That doesn't work. She throws the big boots. She starts working down Soriano's neck. She does the devil's kiss into that reverse triangle choke that she's now getting over as the finish. And Soriano's doing a great job bumping, feeding, and even selling panic and pain on her face. You're like, wow, Uriah Hime's not only going to win this match, she's going to win almost like a dominating fashion. But then Soriano hits that step-up enziguri. Then she starts building the Soriano momentum, the fisherman suplex, the perfect plex, as I call it. And then you get some really great stuff back and forth. But ultimately, it is Soriano with that knee bar into the arm bar, which I believe is called the Gambari lock. I think in Japanese catch, that's what they call it. If I'm wrong, folks, please just let me know. But a really great move. I love that Soriano has brought that move back for that tournament because she did use it quite a bit in last year's tournament and in the 2023 tournament. And again, another really great match, 6.5 minutes, perfect time for these two to tell their story. Uriah Hime has absolutely taken advantage of this tournament. 3 3/4 stars for me. Again, another solid match on this show.
Moving on then, Miyu Amasaki versus Ruaka. And this eliminated Ruaka from proceedings effectively, this match. Again, had stuff gone her way on the final night, there was a chance she'd get through, but no. Ultimately, this defeat did dethrone her. A 3-minute match, and this is something that Stardom have done a little bit with Miyu Amasaki. She's been sort of almost filled the Saki Kashima-sized gap in this tournament with those surprise roll-up victories. And to a certain extent, they've been needed because of the sheer volume of matches, but it's been a little bit disappointing in ways because I want to see more of Miyu Amasaki. And when she's been given those longer matches, like her match against Soriano, she's proved just how much she has improved. Her match with Sairida, for example, was another really, really good match. But are you of the same opinion that you would have liked to have seen more in terms of the amount of time that Miyu was given to wrestle, especially at the tail end of the tournament?
Yeah, 100%, because she's great. She's fantastic. And at the same time, Rob, you got a card with 12 matches. Some matches are going to be cut for time. And no disrespect to these two fantastic wrestlers. Again, obviously, Ruaka getting herself over in Korakuen Hall on the last Korakuen before the 5-star, pinning Hana to win the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. Miyu Amasaki's in the coolest faction and probably has the coolest gear, in my opinion, in the coolest faction of Neo Genesis. So it's like, yeah, you want to see them have more time. But again, no disrespect to both these fantastic wrestlers. People want to see Rina versus Starlight Kid. People want to see Suri versus Momo Watanabe. So this is a match that, again, it's you're absolutely right. Maybe she's playing that Kagama role. Maybe she's playing that Saki Kashima role. Maybe she's playing the role of her tag partner 4 or 5 years ago with the Izumi Sushi, where it's just like, maybe I only need 3 seconds to win. They get in, get out, tell their story. At the same time, Rob, maybe in the next month or two, this leads to an O2 line versus BMI 2000 Goddess of Stardom tag match. They can clearly play out that, because it still absolutely blows my mind that Izumi has never held the Goddess of Stardom tag team titles. Considering how great of a tag wrestler she is, whether it's Kamatani, the few times she's teamed with Izumi, obviously Momo Watanabe as Momoaz. They did win the tag league 5 years ago, and her and Miyu Amasaki as O2 line, they're terrific as well. So maybe that's where you can kind of play off this. 3 3/4 stars, simple story to tell. Ruaka on the jump, heat on Miyu. Miyu comes back. Ruaka cuts her off, look like she's going to pin her. And then it's basically Ruaka kind of slips on a banana peel and pins her with the leg capture O'Connor roll with the Backlund Bridge. 3 1/4 stars for me, partner.
Sairida keeps her tournament hopes sort of alive. She is sort of hanging on by a string. I was under the impression that she was eliminated by this point, and then friend of the show Brandon pointed out that if Amisori had lost to Bozilla and Miyu Amasaki had won on the final night and Sayurida had won on the final night, because they would have all had a victory over one another, then we would have had a play-in situation, whereas I was solely focused on the fact that Sayurida could only get to 8 points and she'd lost the tiebreaker to Amisori. But nevertheless, she needed a victory here. And this, for me, was the first really, really good match of this show. Aya Sakura, another person who you can put in any sort of situation and you know you're going to get a great match, constantly going out there and developing in every situation that she's been put in, whether it's been that match with Bozilla, which I think was one of Bozilla's best matches heading into this final three, where she had some really good matches. Her match with Amisori, which was great. Her match here with Sayurida. It doesn't matter who you put her in there with. She has tremendous matches. That main event against Saori Anou in her hometown of Kobe. Again, repeatedly, Aya Sakura puts on phenomenal matches. She's going to be a very special talent. And I think Sayaka Kurora is someone as well that we're going to be talking about a little bit later down the road. But it's nice to see Sayurida getting some singles victories because, as I've mentioned before, in terms of singles competition, Sayurida is desperately underrated.
You know what, Rob, you just said something. It just goes to show you how absolutely spoiled we are with Stardom. You just mentioned, and you're absolutely right, partner, that this was the first really, really good match of this show. Was Uriah Hime versus Soriano good? Yes, it was. Was Natsupoi versus Rion good? Yeah, it was really good. I had the first three matches, 3 and 3/4 stars, but you're just like, all right, let's get to these 4-star matches, right? And this is it right here. I mean, I'll tell you right now, 4.25 stars. When me and Andy had our previewed this show last week, we're like, you know what this match is going to be? Kick, chop, kick, chop, and then they're going to build towards their finish in the best way possible. And we got there. Like, they started off with some really great ground wrestling. You know, Saeed is a really underrated ground wrestler. Obviously, Aya Sakura is known for those strikes, but a really great submission and, catch style, judo style submission wrestler. So you had that to begin. And then once they kind of break off, they kind of like 50-50, even. Then here it comes, buddy. You knew we were going to get it. It's just like, yeah, we had to wait about 90 seconds. And it's kick, chop, really great stuff back and forth. I love, and this happened a lot in Momo Watanabe versus Amisori in Korakuen Hall. I love it where like Saya Iida's doing the chops and she goes to set up the lariat and her lariat gets kicked away. And then Aya starts building up the kicks. Then she goes for that one real big heavy kick. And then Saya Iida lariats away the kick. So they're using their big strikes to kind of almost negate the other one strike. But the way it was built up and the way it was sold, like Iida clotheslines the kick. And then she like sells her arm, like, and then Aya Sakura like sells her toe, like, oh, that sucked. That was like kicking a tree because it's, or a gorilla, or a gorilla. It's the subtle things that I love. And again, you can do all the moves and that's all great. But you do like the little things that link the moves that make it even more. That's storytelling. That's what I love in pro wrestling. That's what this match had a lot of. Again, really great stuff back and forth. There is Aya Sakura uses the armbar to kind of really start negating Saida. Saida hits a huge lariat and then another running lariat for a 2 count. I thought that was great. Like she gets hit with the head kick and then she fires up, proper fighting spirit, hits the one lariat to kind of get her breath back. And then it's like, no. Then hits an even a bigger one. I thought that was great. And then she picks her up and she's only used the Hashimoto style. And by Hashimoto, I mean Chihiro. I mean Shinjiro Hashimoto Liger style sheer drop brainbuster a few times. And every time that she hits it, we always say, and I'm going to say it again, she should use that as her finisher every time she's going to win a match. Like I love the Be a Master, the Ida Buster. That's all great. But that sheer drop brainbuster, it just reminds me of like New Japan 80s Hashimoto, New Japan 90s Liger, the way she does it. Kawada, that should be the best example. Like that Kawada style sheer drop brainbuster where it's like, that looks really dangerous, but if you watch it back in slow-mo, it's just like she's clearly protecting her opponent. But it looks scary. Considering the fact that she's set it up with not 1, but 2 violent lariats, it's like if the head and neck weren't bad enough, it is now. Great match. This was just another terrific match in this tournament, a one that we're going to look back on in a year or two from now. Like, oh, that's a hidden gem. Saida has had so many hidden gem matches in this tournament, as well as Aya Sakura. Great stuff. 4.25 stars for me, my friend. This was hard-hitting, great action right up in your face with a damn near perfect finish with those lariats setting up that Kawada style sheer drop brainbuster. Saida picking up another win.
Moving on, again, what would we be talking about other than a 48-second Waka Tsukiyama match, but a victory for Waka Tsukiyama, and one that eliminated Azusa Inaba, who probably thought she was quids in, having to beat Waka Tsukiyama. But no, Waka finally managed to get the victory. And I know that obviously she had the match with Lady C, which we're going to be talking about in a moment. But what were your thoughts on both this and Waka's tournament as a whole?
This set up perfectly the psychology of Walker's entire tournament. Every match going short. I think the Una match went a little bit longer, and the B Priestley match went a little bit longer. For the majority, it was like poor Waka getting beat in under a minute or just over a minute. And then it's like, you know that there's going to be a little bit of a story here. And here it was. Again, if you're like, oh, this is a 48-second match, you would think that Waka lost, but no, it went the other way. And it almost went Azusa Inaba's way because she comes out with the brutal strikes, the Baba Killer #2, and you're like, oh, poor Waka. But Waka finally reverses her fortune in picking up her first 2 points, thus qualifying her, Rob, for the Green Stars D Block final, along with Fuking Death and Megaton. But I thought this was usually these matches that are this short, I usually just don't rate. I actually rated 3.25 stars because I thought it was thoroughly entertaining and it was an encapsulation of Waka's entire tournament. It's like, aha. All it takes is that extra fraction of a second that I needed, and she got it here versus Azusa Inaba. Not only did she pick up her first win, but as you said, partner, it mathematically eliminated Azusa Inaba. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. For the less than a minute it was on my screen.
Moving on then, Lady C and B Priestley. Lady C, unfortunately, eliminated from proceedings with this loss to B Priestley. Now, I don't know what it was about this match. Something didn't quite click.
I agree.
In this match. And I don't know whether it was just a clash of styles or whether it was some miscommunication. The match wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. There was certainly no botches or anything like that. Just something didn't quite feel right. And I think as well, the crowd picked up on it as well, because the crowd were deathly silent for this match, and to a point where it was really quite noticeable through the stream. That being said, again, B Priestley picking up the victory. It's a shame, though, because this was actually one of the matches I thought we'd be talking about as one of B's best in the block stages. So a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I had 3.25 stars, but my expectations were probably around somewhere that 3 3/4 to 4 stars. Because again, B having a great tournament. She's been fantastic here in the 5-star. Lady C has taken advantage of every single second she's had in the ring during this 5-star. I thought this would have been right up my alley because these two are both hard hitters. I'm like, this is going to be terrific. Coming off, you had that quick match before, and then that Aya and Saida match. I was really amped up for this. And you're right, it just didn't seem like it clicked. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's miscommunication, sometimes, especially with the language barrier, even though I think B speaks really good Japanese because she was in Stardom for a few years. It might have just been, and that happens. I would like to see these two run this one back. Again, depending on how long B's tour is, because I just think that there's definitely a better match and something just didn't click. Or it might just be one or two things that if they just kind of switched, then you would have that even flow and they would have had that really great match that we thought we would have had. Again, it happens. Lady C, again, great tournament. B Priestley's the next world competitor. And I'm really excited for her match coming up in 2 weeks' time against Saya Kamatani for the red belt. 3.25 stars for me, my friend. This is a match I would like to see them give it another try because I think they would hit it out of the park.
And we did mention that B Priestley wearing a different gear for every single one of her matches. I will just say the silver and pink that she is wearing in the render, probably my favorite. I thought that was a pretty kick-ass gear. Moving on then, Hanako and Konami next. This was a really, really bad defeat for Hanako, as this pretty much meant that she had to win on the final night to get a playoff place. And with Konami on such a downward trajectory in terms of points, having only picked up a single victory since the opening night, she will be disappointed that she was submitted. What were your thoughts on this one, Matt?
This was great. And again, considering the fact that we kind of had an idea who was going to be in the playoffs when we did our primer. And then as you're getting towards this final few shows, you're like, Hanako just really needs one win. And She may bump Momo Watanabe and our Sari out, depending on what happens in the main event, which we're going to get into in a few minutes. So it just goes to show you how great Hanako's tournament was, that she needed to eat 2 L's in order for her to be eliminated in her first 5-star Grand Prix. They clearly have big plans for her. She's a fantastic wrestler, only 2 years into her young career. This match was great. Again, very much like Aya and Saida, you know what you're going to get. 2 hard-hitting wrestlers doing what they do best, and that's kick a lot of ass. And Rob Goodwin, this match kicked a lot of ass. I mean, Hanako overpowering Konami. Konami after using her experience and that MMA style to kind of break down Hanako. Hanako showing great fire, coming back with clotheslines, you know, those big Micah-style suplexes, which I really love. And then eventually Konami using those strikes, wearing down Hanako, hitting the Arisa Hoshinki, $13.99. I always smile every time she does it because I've seen so many wrestlers try to do it. Obviously, nobody does it as good as Arisa, but Konami's not too far behind. Not too far behind. I've seen other wrestlers that look slightly below average, just to be kind. Ultimately, though, the $13.99, that sets up the sleeper. She goes for another $13.99 attempt. However, that gets cut off with the superplex. And then Hanako hits a JP coaster, which I thought that would be the 3 count. Eventually, though, Konami's able to roll through a pin attempt and lock in the rear naked choke, forcing Hanako to tap out. Really great stuff. 4 stars for me. And again, this tournament, Rob, is the cheating from Konami. It's been few and far between. Basically, a lot of the cheating is coming from that she's doing is in matches that don't have her as an official member of the match, which I'm all for, buddy. I'm all for. Again, a really great professional wrestling tournament for both Hanako and Konami. These two had a terrific match. This was right up my alley. Again, 4 stars for me.
Yeah, she was certainly the unofficial third competitor in one of the quarterfinals, which we'll be talking about.
Pretty much every Momo Watanabe match. I think she was pretty much every. Yeah, she was just like, hey, you know, I got you. You know, if you remember the WWE No Mercy game where you had your buddy play as the extra controller, he can be the manager. Toss him on the outside and leave him for me. Don't worry about it.
Moving on, Tomoka Inaba and Natsuko Tora. This Natsuko Tora's final match of the tournament. And after going off like a house on fire to win her first 3 matches, Tora had struggled to string together wins. And obviously this proved to be a very destructive defeat for Natsuko Tora because with the loss to Starlight Kid, with the loss to Rina, this meant that she could only get to 8 points, and any sort of result in the Starlight Kid and Rina match was going to effectively eliminate Tora. And obviously the match, result that we did get did ultimately eliminate Tora from proceedings. This, however, was brilliantly worked. And what I really enjoyed was after watching Starlight Kid obliterate Natsuko Tora's knee, which, again, is sort of what Starlight Kid does at the moment, watching Tomoka Inaba do the same thing, having known that Tora would still be recovering from that knee injury because there's not a lot of time between the 2 tournament matches, and watching Tomoka Inaba from the very outset drop kick into the corner, wrap the knee in the ropes, hit it with another kick. And straight away then, Tora is immediately selling the knee again. And that sort of cumulative damage in tournaments, we've seen it very, very occasionally. We saw it with Micah's arm one year. My favorite example of it, or the most prominent example of it, is actually from the G1 Climax when Juice Robinson broke his hand. And when every single competitor then would go after the broken hand, it must have been such a brutally painful tournament for Juice. But it was a story continuing throughout the tournament. And I really enjoyed the fact that we didn't just forget Starlight Kid did a number on Tora's knee a couple of days ago. We remembered that, and Inaba went straight for it and did such a wonderful job. And proper shout out to Tomoka Inaba for this tournament because, again, got a key victory to start the tournament against Starlight Kid, is seemingly getting a white belt match, but has put on tremendous matches. Match with Natsupoi, match with Azumi, her match with Sayaka Kurora, all have been tremendous. And then she caps off another great tournament match by submitting a former red belt champion.
Yeah, I kind of figured, like, okay, Tomoka Inaba is going to get the win here. Like, Natsuko Tora is having a great tournament, but you figured with Red Stars B, it's going to come down to Azumi, Natsupoi, Starlight Kid, and then Rina. because it did seem like, obviously Tomoka Inaba getting that win on Starlight Kid at night one, started dropping falls and be like, that's okay. They're eventually going to give her a big championship match with Starlight Kid. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Rob, that's what we set up on Saturday for the 6th of September. So I was pretty sure Tora was going to win this match. Or excuse me, Tomoka Inaba was going to win this match. And a lot of credit goes to Tora because she hit bomb after bomb after bomb on Tomoka Inaba, and she let Tomoka Inaba kick out of a lot of her finishers. The Death Valley bomb, the miss, the freezer bomb, the top rope freezer bomb, the swanton. I was like, when she hit that swanton, I was just like, oh, wow, they're going to put Tora over, because that's pretty much the combination that did in Micah a year ago for Tora to win the red belt. Tomoka Inaba kicks out. So you got to give Tora, obviously Tomoka Inaba is great, but you got to give credit to Tora. It was just like, no, I'm going to hit you with all my finishers, but you're going to kick out. So it's just like, you got to be like, that's what she wants. That's how she got Tomoka Inaba over in that part. Tomoka Inaba starts, so all right, eventually, once she starts kicking out, you're like, Tomoka Inaba's got to eventually make her comeback. And she makes her comeback, Rob, with what she does best, the strikes. And she's throwing the kicks. And she's like, the first mid kick, Tora kind of shakes off. And then the second mid kick, she's like, ooh. And then the third mid kick, she's like, okay, now I'm really staltered here. But as you pointed out a minute ago, partner, in the beginning, in the first quarter of this match, Tomoka Inaba is going after the knee. And then Tora starts hitting the bomb. So she hits her with like 3 or 4 mid kicks. And now Tora's staggered. And we see this all the time from Tomoka Inaba, and it never ceases to amaze me. She goes to throw the 4th or 5th mid kick. Tora puts her arms up, and then Tomoka takes the kick, and then in midair stops, and then switch kicks to the knee that she was working. And I watched this twice because as impressive as it was what Tomoka did, what Tora did in my eyes was even more interesting, and it was even more impressive. So she takes the kick to the knee, and then she sells the head perfectly so Tomoka can hit the head kick. I thought Tora, again, letting Tomoka Inaba kick out of all of her big finishers, and then the way she sold the knee after the switch kick from Tomoka and then fed the head for the head kick, I thought was absolutely genius. Feeding and selling for one of your biggest and baddest and best heels in this company. I thought that was great, and that head kick sets up Tomoka to be able to go back to the knee. We get that great knee work where she goes from Achilles lock to knee bar, eventually the Tomoka stranglehold, which is basically attacking the body like a ladder, locking in submission to submission. Great selling from Natsuko Tora. Is she going to get the ropes? Is she not? And you can see even Tomoka Inaba really grinding in the hold. Her facials to really get that hold in properly was absolutely perfect, causing Tora to tap out. This was great psychology, great selling, great storytelling between two fantastic wrestlers. 4 stars for me, my friend. I thought this was genius and brilliant all at the same time.
All at the same time. High praise indeed. Yeah, this was brilliant. This was really, really good. And again, I'm always full of praise for Tomoka Inaba, always full of praise for Starlight Kid, always full of praise for Natsuko Izumi. Natsuko Tora has been a standout in a block of standouts, which 100%. I think goes to show just how good and just how underrated she really, really is. Like, we often forget about her in hate because there's so much firepower in that stable at the moment between Sayaka Kamitani and Momo Watanabe and Konami, and Tekla was obviously being pushed heavily before she left.
Now Rina.
Now Rina, exactly. Azusa Inaba, who is dangerously good at 17 years old.
And you didn't even mention the true leader, not only of hate, but of professional wrestling.
Kick and Death. Yes. Absolutely. I mean, how do you coexist in a stable with her? But Natsuko Tora has really stood up and been counted during this tournament. And whenever she has been given that nod, she's proved that she is a very, very good wrestler. And in the same way as Sayarita, we take Natsuko Tora, not necessarily take advantage of her, but she's underrated. Yeah, take it for granted. She's an underrated singles competitor. And the 2023 5-star Grand Prix, I thought she had a really good tournament where she blitzed through the likes of Mayu and Shiori and Natsupoi and, again, then absolutely collapsed towards the end of the tournament. Similar to this one, to be perfectly honest. But again, here, there's not been a match that I've looked at and gone, expected a bit more out of that, to be perfectly honest. She's done tremendously well, and I'm glad she's champion. I really am, because again, if anyone has earned a championship, it's Natsuko Tora, and fingers crossed her and Ruaka can build a dominant run as Goddess of Stardom champions. Moving on then, speaking of Starlight Kid and speaking of Rina, they went to a time limit draw. And as I mentioned before, this did eliminate Natsuko Tora from proceedings because Starlight Kid moved to 8 points, the same as Tora. And Tora, of course, could only get to 8. Rina moved to 9, which was more, and Azumi was already on 9, which meant that Azumi and Rina were already into, Azumi was already into the playoffs. Matt, we saw these two have a tremendous match at the Path of Thunder and Rock and Roll. But what were your thoughts on this installment in the fledgling rivalry between Starlight Kid and Rina?
This was great. I like the match better at the Path of Thunder, Dun Dun Dun, and Rock and Roll because they had more time. And it was a Wonder Stardom Championship match, and it was sold out show, main event, pay-per-view, Rina's hometown. So you add all that. This was still great. Up 4.5 stars. I'll tell you right now, 4.5 stars. I thought this was terrific. This and Korakuen was a genius move on Stardom, where it's like, we're gonna give you these last 3 matches for free. And this isn't like the middle of the road last 3 matches. Not that it wouldn't matter because Stardom's great, but it's like these last 3 matches back to back was like, oh boy, howdy. And by the way, guys, in about 4 or 5 days, one of the best wrestling shows you've seen all year, we're giving that to you for free on YouTube as well. So I thought that was genius marketing on Stardom to give away a lot of this tournament was free on YouTube between the first 3 matches or these last 3 matches, or again, the Korakuen show. So this was a great way to start off. You've never seen Stardom before. And it really seemed like that, like the production quality, it was amped up. It really seemed like when Rina came out, it just seemed like the lights just seemed a little bit brighter. You know, it's like, okay, now we're live on YouTube, kids. Like, let's get ready to rock and roll. Rob, the first part of this match was Rina going after Starlight Kid's arm, obviously for the hydrangea. Starlight Kid going after Rina's knee, obviously to set up the Black Tiger leg killer submission. I love it when Starlight Kid does, and I don't think she ever misses it and should never miss it. I love it when she gets the advantage and she puts her opponent or puts her foot on her opponent's knee, and you know she's going for the standing moonsault, and she does a Starlight Kid. Starlight Kid is an easy way to get over, and it's awesome, and everybody loves Starlight Kid. In my opinion, the second biggest star in this company behind Saya Kamatani, and just is on an absolute another level this year. I mean, just she's somehow upped her game from where she was last year, which is insane to say. She does that great back and forth, and Starlight Kid does the 619, the Tiger Feint kick, but she does it to Rina's knee, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I really like that. Rina gets the advantage. We go on the apron. We get an apron fight. Rina locks the hydrangea on the apron, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, because the balance and the trust to be on that little part of the apron where you have somebody on your back and you still have to get the sell in. Like, I thought that was really cool. But Rob, we're not done enough on the apron. Oh no, I'm like, oh, that's really, really cool. No, we're not done. Rina hits a reverse suplex onto the apron. The margin of error for that, not only for Starlight Kid, because she has to flip all the way back, but even Rina to be able to protect Starlight Kid, and for her to take the bump as well, because she's taking a flat back bump, throwing all of Starlight Kid's weight almost on top of her. So for her to protect Starlight Kid and her own, absolutely crazy. So I thought that was great. We get back in the ring. Rina starts working over Starlight Kid's arm. She uses the judo throw. Eventually, Starlight Kid. I love it. Starlight Kid does this. She'll take kicks to the face or the chest just to bait her opponent in to set up that dragon screw. And she's like, "Come on, Rina, keep hitting with that running boot. That running boot. You know, the running boot, obviously that Hana Kimura used to use." And after the second or third one, she's like, "Nope, got you." A dragon screw back into the leg crusher submission, and Rina's just like, the panic on her face was like, son of a gun, I thought I had this match won. I had her down. So not only is it frustration, it's panic because the resilient that is Starlight Kid, and now the crowd is really, really getting behind Starlight Kid. I thought that was great stuff. Starlight Kid really starts taking advantage. She hits the Black Tiger Power Driver that usually sets up the moonsault. Rina, at the very last possible second, gets those knees up. I thought that was great. And then she hits the hydrangea bomb. That scores her a 2 count, but then locks in the hydrangea. And Starlight Kid, even with the mask on, is selling such great emotion, such great panic. Like, is she going to pass out? Or is she going to tap out? The crowd was really, really hot here. 18 years old, Rob knows how to stay aggressive. Goes for the Pink Devil, but Starlight Kid reverses with the Code Red, the Keychain Bomb, which Starlight Kid really doesn't use that much. That's more of like Starlight Kid. But I thought that was a great counter in this part. That was great. And then she goes back to the top rope, Rob, to hit the moonsault because you wanted to see it 3 minutes ago. You didn't get it. We're going to give it to you again, but at a bigger setting. She's actually going to hit it at the proper point in the match. So again, I love how Starlight Kid builds those big moves. It's like, oh, is she going to hit it? No. Oh, I wanted to see it. And then she goes back to, I'm like, oh, now it's even better. It's like taking something away, but then eventually I get it because I properly earned to get to that spot. I thought that was genius. We go for the star suplex. Rina blocks that with the best thing in her arsenal, that big boot, stunning Starlight Kid. And then she hits the Pink Devil that she tried for earlier. And as she goes to cover Starlight Kid, the bell rings. I was like, why did the bell ring?
So well executed again.
I was so invested in this match that I forgot there was a 15-minute time limit. And that just goes to show you how great these two are. Because I was like, why is the bell ringing? I'm like, that was 15 minutes. Everything flowed so well. So pending, Rob Goodwin, on what happens with Tomoka and Starlight Kid, because again, we think we're getting that. You can run this back as well. Who wouldn't want to see that? I thought this was great. Absolute genius. These two are just having a phenomenal, phenomenal tournament. 4.5 stars for me, good sir.
Moving on then to your semi-main event, Red Stars A action. Saya Kamatani moving to 6-0, 12 points, matching Micah's unbeaten streak of last tournament. It does also guarantee her the top seeding in Red Stars A, and means that Mei Seira is heavily reliant on Hannon's result on the 17th to still go through. It also guarantees B. Priestley passage into the tournament playoffs as well. Matt, what were your thoughts on this?
This was my favorite match of the show. These three matches I all had at 4.5 stars, but I think this one I liked the best. Again, all three of these matches were great, but this was my favorite match of the show. Literally starts off, it was just like I was taking my notes and I was like, I need to go back and watch this because it starts off high speed style, like back and forth between the two. It's just like you can't get a second to breathe. It's counter wrestling. Eventually, Saya Kamatani hits a drop kick that sends Mei Seira out to the outside. I'm like, okay, maybe I have a chance to take a note now. No, because all of a sudden here comes Saya Kamatani like a rocket launcher running off the apron, like me on that slip and slide back to the beginning barbecue at my parents' backyard. Hits that. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, can I get a breath here? And then she throws Mei Seira into the chairs. I'm like, we're like 30 seconds in, like, holy geez. And then she goes in the ring and she does her thing where she gets the chair and she sits on it. That's her camera pros, Rob. That's her camera. All of a sudden, you see how the flash bulb goes out. And there's a genius thing that happened with her and Azumi, which we'll get into Korakuen Hall. Because like, oh my God, I don't know if they realized what they did. Anywho, and then eventually Saya slows Mei Seira down. It's like, okay, I kind of got you there. She slows Mei Seira down. Mei Seira winds up coming back with just that incredible high-speed offense that she does with the flipping neck breaker. That one jump into the second rope Joshi drop kick was great. There was so many drop kicks that Mei Seira hit, and every one, Saya just kept bumping bigger and bigger and bigger. And we mentioned all the time, I'm going to mention here again, like the bumps that she takes for everybody. And Mei Seira in this match really gets Mei Seira over as like a next level striker badass, which I thought was great. Mei Seira escapes the Star Crusher with a super kick, and then Saya Kamatani comes back with the spin kick. Saya goes for the second kick, but Mei Seira ducks that, hits a release German suplex. Let's add that into Mei Seira's arsenal because that was fantastic. And again, the way that Saya Kamatani properly folded herself over, it looked like that she was like Kawada in like 96 against those matches with Masala. Like properly puts her over there. Saya escapes the goodbye piece. We get a brutal forearm exchange between these two. Again, there's great strikers in this company. Momo, Sari, Shuri, Hazuki. These two are very low-key, two of the better strikers in this company that I don't think get enough credit for how great their striking are. They're at the tail end of this match and just bomb after bomb after bomb. Saya Kamatani wins the forearm exchange. She comes off the ropes, but she's met with this insane dropkick from Mei Seira. And I even put parentheses. The bump that Saya Kamatani took on this dropkick looked like this could have been the finish, and I absolutely would have bought it. However, Mei Seira's not done. She finally hits the goodbye peace powerbomb. I thought that was the finish. That scores her 2 count, and then Mei Seira goes for the checkmate. And as soon as she went for the checkmate, I was like, Kamatani's winning because she can never hit this damn checkmate, Rob Goodwin. Never
she really can't.
Yeah, she block. We get basically a cradle off 1-2, and then she hits the Star Crusher. That only scored her 2 count, which we've seen Saya Kamatani really protecting the Star Crusher. Not many people kick out of it. Mei Seira kicks out of it here, which I thought was great. Mei Seira hits a drop kick. Saya Kamatani is able, or then she goes for the shooting star roll up. Saya rolls through with the schoolboy Blue Thunder Bomb for a 2 count, and then hits the 360 Star Crusher, planting the high speed champion in the middle of the ring. We knew this was going to be great, Rob Goodwin. the shock of nobody. This was great. Great back and forth action. They knew when to slow it down. They knew when to build it back up. Sai Kamitani's bumping is just all over the place in the best way possible, making it look like Mei Seira is going to drop kick her into the fourth row. Just great stuff. The way that Sai Kamitani just makes good wrestlers look great and great wrestlers look like main eventers. Exactly what happens here with Mei Seira. We mentioned this as the opportunity tournament. Mei Seira, I think we need the class in that main event scene as well, especially after this match. Because if they ever decide to run this back like 22, 23 minutes for the red belt, Rob, this went less than 12 minutes and was one of my favorite match of the show. 4.5 stars. Great stuff. Mei Seira can do it all. And again, Sai Kamitani. This match is just another match to add on to her run that she is having this year as not only World of Stardom champion, but again, in my opinion, the best wrestler this year in all of professional wrestling.
Moving on to the main event then, perhaps the most hotly anticipated match of this entire tournament in Sari versus Momo Watanabe. This was great. However, I felt they had more in them. And I had a whole bit about how we're definitely getting this again. We did get it again. Spoilers. So I'm not going to use all that because, again, there was heat there. There was a tremendous amount of heat there. There was a lot of anger, and that permeated into a lot of the striking exchanges and a lot of the bumps that Sari and Momo both took equally. But it felt very much like this was chapter one of a rivalry. And again, we now know that that was because it was chapter one of a rivalry. But I still think it was a very, very good opening chapter to a feud I want to see bubbling for months and months and months.
Yeah, I think we talked right after this show, and you're like, as great as that main event was, like I expected more. And I'm like, I expected a 5-star match, and I got a 4.5-star match. Again, it's still really great, but it just seemed like they left something in the tank. In 12 minutes, if they would have got longer to tell their story. And then once we saw how the playoff brackets were, we're like, okay, clearly we know where this is going. And that better match, we sure got just a few days later, Rob Goodwin, just a few days later, which I thought the genius tournament booking from Teru Okada. There was a few misses. There was a lot of hits, what he's done in this tournament, considering who's not there over the last 2 years. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to the booking. I loved how Sari puts the belt in Momo Watanabe's face, and Momo's like, I'm a badass and I'm a heel. She takes the belts and hits it off Sari's face before the bell even rings. It's like, you can't DQ me, Daichi. You didn't ring the bell. Like that, like I know what I did was illegal, but the match wasn't official yet. So I really like that. This match goes all over the place, Rob. All over the place. And I'll tell you this. Again, this match, 4.5 stars. The bonus match we got with Chi-Chi and Azusa Inaba, 3.5 stars because like there. And again, I went back and rewatched these last 3 matches because they were on YouTube, and it was tweeted. You know, in the next 24 hours, it was tweeted about how while these two were brawling all over the place, Chi-Chi and Azusa Inaba started kicking the crap out of each other, and I couldn't stop watching. As great as it was with Sari and Momo, second time I watched, I couldn't keep my eyes off Chi-Chi and Azusa Inaba. Whether they take advantage of that, I don't know. I really think they should. I don't know if it's meant to be that way, but these two are just beating the crap out of each other. Not only Sari and Momo Watanabe, but Azusa and Chi-Chi, which I thought was great. And I was really glad that Miku Kanai and Chi-Chi, they were in Sari's corner for majority of these matches because I really want to see the two of them in Stardom more often because they were great, and they did a great job in Korakuen Hall. We'll talk about it in a little bit, partner, fending off the 84 members of Hate in certain parts of that match. Again, they were all over the place, going to the chairs. They're whipping chairs at each other. I mean, this is just violence on top of violence. We get a top rope fight that Sari wins. She hits a top rope fisherman suplex. Momo, and then Sari goes to the top rope for the top rope double stomp. Momo stops that with a top rope uranagi. German suplex exchange. Sari hits the German suplex. Momo Watanabe comes back with the tequila sunrise. I thought that was terrific. We get a forearm exchange. Eventually, Sari gets the better of that, hits the basement dropkick, hits the uranagi. Then all of a sudden, Rob, as the ref's counting, Daichi goes away. I'm like, what happened? Did he vanish? Was he like that picture of Marty McFly when he went back to 1955 and just happened to vanish?
Was he like that missing Marigold show that neither of us can find?
Oh, I need to follow up on that. I did try once, but yeah, exactly. Maybe he went to go ref that show. Maybe that's where it was. Ref gets pulled. Bat shot hits Tora. Then Suri hits. She hits our Momo. Our Momo gets the bat. She accidentally hits Tora again. This may play into something coming up a little bit later because eventually enough's got to be enough. But I like how Momo hits Tora and was like, "The hell with it! I'm gonna hit Suri now because like I'm not gonna check on her. I'll check on her later." So I really like that. Again, all the stuff that happened with these hate matches, all the rule breaking and cheating, none of it in front of the referee. So great job, not only from the ref, but the members of Hate, Momo, Suri as well. Didn't know which way it was going to go. Suri hits a roll up, gets a roll up off the Peach Sunrise for a 2 count. Momo comes back with a brutal head kick, and as brutal as that was, the punk kick was even worse. It's like they're really ramping up the violence. Suri hits their Uranagi for a 2 count. She goes for the wrist clutch or the hammerlock or Uranagi. Konami's on the apron. Konami accidentally sprays Momo Watanabe with the spray paint. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, you're spray painting your partner. Get your finger off the button. Like, what the hell? But I was like,
stop spraying me.
Yeah, and then it's like, stop it. And I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. It took away from the match just like this much. But then Suri hits the she keeps wrist control, hits the hammerlock or wrist clutch Uranagi onto Momo for the 3 count. Again, great match, 4.5 stars. If you add in the Chi-Chi versus Zusa Inaba match, this is 7 stars all around. So again, fun match. Again, these last 3 matches I all had 4.5 stars, but I like Saya versus May the best. I like Starlight Kid and Rina just a little bit better than this match. But again, 3 matches, the last 3 matches, 4.5 stars. You mix in the Great Soriano versus Uriah Hime match. You mix in the Great Tomoka Inaba versus Natsuko Tora match, as well as Saya Ida versus Aya Sakura. Great stuff, Rob Goodwin. And that was our first show. But Rob Goodwin, we're not done talking about this show because let's talk about the predictions, buddy. The predictions. My wonderful wife got 10 right. Your podcast co-host, only 7 right. So as we go into the final night before the playoffs, Matt Turner 71, Amber 71, all tied up going into that final night. Yes. Now, before we get into this next show, I do want to preface that how the playoffs go, how we done every year. Anybody that you got right in the playoffs, you get 2 points. The second round is 3 points. The next round is 4 points. So we're going to break all of that down as we go into said final night.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. If that's not listener retention, I don't know what is. Moving on, then, obviously, that was the penultimate night of block action. We move to the final night of block action, night 11 of the 5-star Grand Prix, 17th of August 2025, from At City Hamamatsu in Shizuoka. And a wonderful number done by Stardom, a truly fantastic number. 1,045 people in attendance that Stardom have announced as a sellout. Easily the highest attendance Stardom have drawn to the venue, with it being a 26.82% increase on their previous best, which was 824 from the 26th of August 2022 as a part of the 5-star Grand Prix of that year. It's also the second highest overall of the 9 shows run there this year, after the New Japan G1 Climax show 4 days prior. It is worth pointing out that this did outdraw the other New Japan show at that venue, though. However, one of the biggest stats that I could find in relation to this number, it's also the highest Joshi attendance at the venue in a quarter of a century, since Gaia Access G in July of 2000, which was announced as 1,200. So the biggest Joshi attendance at At City Hamamatsu in 25 years. Quite the number for Stardom. So again, all of these are tournament matches. Blue Stars A, Saya Ida moves to 8 points, defeating Uriah Hime with a lariat. Uriah Hime finishing the tournament with a big fat globe in 7 minutes and 42 seconds. Red Stars B, Tomoka Inaba moves to 8 points, defeating Rian, who remains on 0 with the one-hit kill Tomoka kick in 7 minutes and 43 seconds. Red Stars A, Waka has got 1 win. Again, it's that London's buses adage. You wait an entire tournament for 1 win and then 2 come along at once. She moved to 4 points, defeating Lady C, who also stays on 4 points with that damned Osuai suplex in 6 minutes and 39 seconds. Blue Stars A, Aya Sakura defeated Miyu Amasaki. Aya moving to 4 points. Miyu staying on 6 with the Sakurachi in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Blue Stars B, Sari moved to 11 points, defeating Momo Kogo, who remained on 2 in short order, really, with a backdrop in 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Blue Stars B, one of the biggest surprises of this night. Hina moved to 6 points, defeating Hanako, who stayed on 7 with the Mad Splash in 7 minutes and 53 seconds. Blue Stars B, Suzu Suzuki moved to 10 points, defeating Rani Yagami, who stays on 6 points with a German suplex in 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Red Stars A, Hanan moves to 9 points, defeating Yuna Mizumori, who stays on 4 with the 17 roll-up in 6 minutes and 44 seconds. Red Stars B, another huge surprise in that block. Sayaka Kurora moved to 4 points, defeating Azumi, who stays on 9 with a jackknife pin in 9 minutes and 6 seconds. Again, final 3 matches. Red Stars B, Natsupoi moves to 10 points, defeating Starlight Kid, who stays on 8 points with the Fairy Magic in 10 minutes and 39 seconds, blowing apart Matt Turner's entire prediction bracket, but we don't talk about that. Blue Stars A match, Ami Sori moves to 10 points, defeating Bozilla, who stays on 10 points with the Leica Thunderbolt in 12 minutes and 24 seconds. And then in your main event, B. Priestley, Red Stars A moves to 10 points, defeating Saya Kamatani, who stays on 12, with the Queen's Landing. She bought it back in 13 minutes and 6 seconds to again inflict the first Stardom singles loss for Saya Kamatani in 350 days. This comes, of course, just a couple of days after she lost the Regina the Wave Championship to Kohaku, making it back-to-back singles losses for the Queen of Stardom. And then, of course, as we know, she would then fall to Azumi in the playoffs, making it 3 losses in a row for Saya Kamatani.
In the mud, kid. She's in the mud.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why bother? I mean, it's a dead horse now. Let's just get rid of it. There's no need. There's no money left in Saya Kamatani. Moving on. Opening match then.
Clip that, folks.
Sayarita versus Yuria Hime. And again, Uriah Hime posted a picture to her Instagram after this match, and her chest, it looked like a plate of spaghetti bolognese. It was absolutely all the colors under the sun because Sayarita went to town on this. I mentioned earlier that this tournament seemed to have been a proving ground for Yuria Hime, who apparently has passed with flying colors because after this match, after Saya has beaten her, she did demand, and it was a demand, she had no choice in the matter, that Yuria Hime would indeed be becoming an official member of Stars. That's now been confirmed. She's done some promo material with the other 3 members. She's an official member of Stars. Matt, first of all, what are your thoughts on the match? Second, what are your thoughts as Uriah Hime, an official member of Stars? The rebuilding of Stars begins.
Yeah, I liked how we got some technical wrestling to start, and then Uriah Hime chops Saida, and Saida like sells it for like a second, and then it was like, really? And I was like, okay, try it again. And then all of a sudden, it's like, here it comes. She just pours on the chops. Uriah Hime does a slightly above average job fighting back with those running boots, which she clearly has established as like her big strike. It has gotten it over, in the handful of months that she's been wrestling, which I really enjoy. And then it's just Ida just beating her down, just waiting for the proper time to hit that running lariat. A really great match to start the show. 3.5 stars for me. We kind of figured Uriah Hime would join Stars because I think they kind of asked and she kind of wanted to. And then when she was teamed with Momo Kogo as Peach Lily, which again, we're going to see this weekend. And I'm super excited for because they have really great chemistry as a tag team that she's like, no, I want to earn it. I want to earn it. We thought she'd earn it by getting some wins. It might be easier to survive, or it might be easier to win 8 wins in a row than to survive Saida. So she survived 1 match with Saida. So I think she has properly earned that spot in Stars, which is really cool to see, Rob, because we kind of thought once Mayu left that maybe Stars would fold and then they would come up with their own name, considering the fact that ever since Rossi left that there's no more Wedotai, there's no more Queen's Quest. They pretty much rebranded all the actions because Taro kind of wants to make this his own Stardom. And boy, howdy, he has in the last 2 years in the best way possible. Again, you got to give a lot of credit to him. But it does look like they're keeping the Stars name with Hanan as the leader, which again, I'm fine with. I think Uriah Hime is the perfect fit to be alongside Hanan, Momokogo, and Sai Ida as well.
Agreed. Moving on to the second match on the card, Rian and Tomoka Inaba. Again, there's not a lot to say that I haven't already said about Rian, but another great performance, a great way to close the tournament for Tomoka Inaba, who it was always going to be interesting to see how she would follow last year's tournament, having come again so close to qualifying last year. This year, it was always going to be tricky to qualify, especially when you've got that big three in there with Azumi, Starlight, and Natsupoi, and that's without taking into consideration the likes of Rina and Natsuko Tora. So to get as close as she did, to pick up the key victories that she did and perform as well as she did, I think has been a huge plus for Inaba.
Yeah, and I believe this is the only match in the tournament she won with the one-shot, one-kill Tomoka kick, which is not only cool to do, but cool to say once it took us like 6 months to figure out how the wording went. But
so many words. It's such a wordy finish.
It's just a PK Tomoka Inaba, but I'm not going to tell her. I'm not going to tell her what to do. Again, another really solid match. A lot of this was Rihanna in the beginning. She's trying to get some quick roll-ups because she's trying to get the win because she knows she can't match Tomoka Inaba when it comes to the strikes or really when it comes to the power or the technique. Because Tomoka Inaba is really world-class when it comes to pretty much everything. Tomoka Inaba really is a world-class wrestler, and we did see this in the forefront in her entire tournament. But Rian, great counter wrestling, basically trying to get ahead of Tomoka Inaba. There's that one spot where she goes for the Inaba drop and Rian rolls her up a few times. And it looked like she's going to get her. And Tomoka Inaba does a great job kicking out the very last second. Ultimately, though, Rob Goodwin, it is just a whole bunch of kicks that sets up the one shot, one kill Tomoka kick for the win. Again, another great match from Tomoka. And even though in a loss, a really great spotlight for Stone Cold Rian. 3 3/4 stars. Good sir.
We move on. Lady C and Waka Tsukiyama. We did actually highlight this during our primer, and we thought that it could be to see who would finish bottom of the block. Obviously, that didn't happen. But Waka moving to 4 points, a great moment for her. And again, a great little moment for her considering the battering that she's taken in record time to the vast majority of Red Stars A.
Yeah, it starts out really fast. You're thinking like, okay, this is gonna be another under a minute match, and Lady C's able to keep up with the kind of high speed Waka. And then once Lady C hits that big boot, she starts slowing Waka down, hits the chops, the giant swing. I'm like, okay, Lady C's getting her match here. Obviously, Waka, great fire back, really showing great intensity. And then looks like Lady C's gonna finally chop her down and then get the win. And then Waka gets the surprise roll up. I'm glad this went almost 7 minutes. I thoroughly enjoyed their time together in the ring. 3.5 stars for me, good sir.
Moving on then, Blue Stars action next. And unfortunately, with this loss, Miyu Amasaki was eliminated from the tournament. Aya Sakura's victory actually also eliminated Sayarida officially from the tournament as well, because Sayarida on 8 points was level with Amisori, who, of course, Amisori having that tiebreaker from the Fukuyama show. But again, another short match for Miyu Amasaki, which again, you look at these two women and think this could be a really, really good fight. We've seen Miyu Amasaki take a beating from the likes of Sayarida, from the likes of Amisori. And it would be really interesting to see how she would do against the kicks and the arsenal of strikes that Aya Sakura has. And again, it was the shorter match on the card. And I was so disappointed because of it. Because again, I feel like Miyu Amasaki has more to show. Again, as I mentioned before, the chances that she's had a great showing. And I do wonder if they are perhaps priming her to be a part of the high speed division.
Ooh, that's a good possibility, Rob. That really is, because this was good. Again, 12 matches on the show. Something's got to get cut for time. Unfortunately, this was. So again, at 3.5 stars, I enjoyed it while it was out there. Two of the younger wrestlers in Stardom. Again, really fun stuff. You're right. I'd like to see this go 8-9 minutes. I would love to see this go 14-15 minutes with O2 Line versus Sakura Demon, because they really had good chemistry, and it just seemed like Miyu, she just started getting going. Obviously, we know Miyu, she likes to do she has a whole bunch of variety of the DDTs, She doesn't do it that often, but I would like to see her use it more often. She uses that cradle DDT, where basically she kind of picks you up. I think Conan invented it in the 90s, kind of picks you up almost like a belly to belly and then drops you head first with the cradle DDT. So I really enjoyed that. And then she goes for the Tensai, but Aya Sakura has just able to basically cause Miyu Amasaki to slip on a banana peel and is able to roll her up, catch her in the surprise for the 3 count. 3.25 stars for me, my friend. I totally agree. This match, the only complaint I have about it is it just didn't have enough time to tell their story. Didn't have enough time to really flesh out what these two can do, because they've had great tournaments, great matches with Saida, great matches with a lot, with Soriano. Both of these two have some really great matches. Unfortunately, they just didn't get the time to tell their story.
Moving on, Sari and Momo Kogo. And I have no problem, Matt, telling you that I genuinely feared for Momo Kogo's life coming into this match. Sari, of course, had already qualified. However, a victory here would guarantee her the top seeding. Oh, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It would guarantee her one of the top 2 seedings, should I say. And she deposited Momo Kogo in relatively easy fashion here. Again, Momo Kogo showing that fire. Sari dismissing her with that backdrop towards the end.
Yeah, I think Sari said in the post-match promo, she's like, I didn't have to use the Uranagi as a finisher, but I figured, why the heck not? It's like, because a lot of matches she won with the double stomp, or some matches she won with the seated octopus. So it's like she really hasn't had to use the Uranagi. And this fits perfect into this heel character that Sari is doing, saying, the Uranagi and the hammerlock or wrist clutch Uranagi, those are my go-tos. And the Stardom roster is so poor, it's so weak that I don't even have to break out my A-tier finisher. And she's like, that's why I was like, oh, Momo Kogo, she's probably gonna beat her with the double stomp or get her to tap out, maybe with the arm bar or that seated octopus. So when I saw her Momo Kogo properly go flying, 2 thoughts were in my head, like, please, Momo Kogo, tuck that chin. Please tuck that chin, because that looked like it could have been really scary. And the fact, like, oh, she really brought this out on Momo Kogo. A match she pretty well dominated, but I thought it was just really funny to add it to the heel character that is Sari, saying, yeah, I didn't need to do it, but I figured out why not. I wanted to inflict more damage. Like, what a jerk. Like, what an absolute jerk, especially Momo Kogo, because everybody loves Momo Kogo. But you're right, Momo Kogo had a lot of fire here. But again, you're going up against an absolute badass of a woman, of the IWGP Joshi champion. Solid enough stuff, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, Momo Kogo, she really put the pedal to the metal here. Showed no fear, did not back down at all. But again, I mean, you're in the ring with an absolute brutal beast that is Sari. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend.
Moving on, Hina and Hanako, and another huge shock in Blue Stars. Be again Hanako, so dominant in this tournament at times. A victory, a key victory against Momo Watanabe, and yet she falls here to Hina, and obviously that loss eliminates her officially from the tournament. She knew she had to win after losing to Konami the previous night. But Hina, again, her first tournament, picked up 3 key victories and has looked every inch the part. And again, that, as you've mentioned countless times, and I'm sure something we'll continue to mention countless times, that's been the aim for a lot of these wrestlers during this 5-star.
I absolutely love this match. I think this was my favorite Hina match of this tournament. I thought this was great. And I kind of figured going in, I had Hina I picked Hina to win this match, just because I just didn't think Hanako was going to go through. I think you kind of need that Momo, Suzu, and Suri. And obviously that's the way they went. But again, the fact that they had Hanako right there, that in order for her to qualify, she just needed to win one of the last 2 matches. But the way this built, I was kind of like, how's Hina going to be able to, come back from this beating that Hanako is giving her? It was a great match in the beginning. Again, I mentioned before about Hina's use of the STF. It was really great here. Really great job breaking down the bigger, stronger Hanako in the early stages of this matches. Eventually, though, Hanako comes back, just overpowers Hina. Then Hina just using that judo background, using the judo throws, using the STOs to kind of stop and break down Hanako towards the end of this match, which I really like that. Eventually, Hina goes to the top rope. Looks like she's going to go for the mad splash. That gets blocked. We get a top rope fight. Hanako hits the Micah-style superplex and then hangs on for the 2 suplexes after. And I absolutely love that. I love how Hanako is using a lot of my Himika retired, but we have seen a lot of people using her moves as of late, Rob Goodwin. A lot as of late. Obviously, Mike is on the shelf, so I like how Hanako, while she's on the shelf, is using some of her moves, which I love that superplex into the hang on into the double into the two standing suplexes. That scored her a 2 count. And then she goes for the by she, I mean Hanako goes for the JP coaster. Hina is able to escape that, hits the Northern Light jackhammer, and then goes to the top rope for the Mad Splash, scoring the 3 count. I loved the way Hina was able to really show resilience, really able to dig deep down and able to take Hanako's best shot, and for only her to have just a few more tricks up her sleeve and just a little bit more left into the tank to be able to counter Hanako's JP coaster, hits the Northern Lights jackhammer, and then the Mad Splash. I thought that was great. I thought if Hina was going to win, which I did, it'd be with like a roll up, maybe the Ghetto Clutch or rolling something up on Hanako. The fact that she used a power move and then to really get over that Mad Splash, I thought was absolute genius. This is another hidden gem of a match and an absolute fantastic 5-star Grand Prix. 4 stars for me, good sir.
Suzu Suzuki versus Rana Yagami here, and basically it was a shootout here. Suzu Suzuki eventually defeating Rana to move to 10 points. She would therefore qualify as the as the second seed, Sari as number 1. And with Hanako having lost earlier, Rana Yagami losing here, Momo Watanabe will qualify as your 3rd seed as well. A great showing for Rana, who has quietly been having a really underrated tournament. I mean, I feel like we've spoken about even the likes of Sakura and Rian and people like that who haven't secured that many victories, Sayaka, Kurora. Rana Yagami has been there or thereabouts and was only eliminated on the final night. And yet we haven't really spoken about her in the same regard. And she's had a really solid tournament. I think we all knew that Suzu was going to win this. But I think a good showing from Suzu, a great showing from Rana, and I think Rana is certainly someone who can hold her head high coming out of this tournament, especially as she secured herself another Future of Stardom championship match.
Yeah, you know what, Rob? During this tournament, I had a lot of people tweet at me. You know, the Rana fan base is growing more and more and more. You know, a lot of people telling me how much they're a fan of Rana. Going into this show, a lot of people were thinking that Rana would get a big win here and then she would get qualified for the playoffs. And you're absolutely right. She's not one that we talked about. Like we're talking about Tora came so close and Hanako came so close. And Rana was right there as well. And again, slowly people are really starting to realize how great Rana Yagami is. And again, she had a great tournament. This was my favorite match of hers in this tournament. Rob Goodwin, my opening note of this match, you said this was a shootout in more ways than one, buddy. In more ways than one, because my opening note is Rana jumped Suzu with a dropkick and the war was on. Because that's what this was. Like this was, she starts hitting the snap kicks on Suzu. Suzu obviously sells them. And once the selling is over, the party's over for Rana Yagami. Because then Suzu snaps her over. These two start going back and forth. Just brutal exchanges, a fight all over the building. I mean, this was right up my alley. I knew what I was going to get, and I got it in spades. I had high expectations for this match, but they exceeded my expectations. We get back in the ring. We get a strike off that Rana's getting the better of. Like she's hitting these combination of kicks and forearms, and she's stunning Suzu. And then Suzu just takes one forearm, Rob Goodwin, one forearm. And then you just hear the thud go off in the building. And the way that that way that Rana sold it, she didn't take a proper flat bump. She took it like she got knocked out, like you would see in like a kickboxing or a boxing or an MMA fight with it, where it just like properly just crumbles her. And then Suzu takes the time to sell and then smiles because it's like, I just kind of got my ass kicked, but what I did was really, really fun. Like properly enjoyed her handiwork. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Rana comes back with the double armbar. Really great selling from Suzu Suzuki. We get a head kick exchange between the two. Suzu hits a power bomb into the buckle and then 2 brutal kicks. That scores her a 2 count. Suzu then hits a German suplex and a tequila shot for a 2 count. I thought that would have been the finish because we've seen Suzu. She likes to use that combination of tequila shot and German suplex. Sometimes she does the German first. Sometimes she does the tequila shot. So I liked how Suzu let Rana kick out of that 1-2 punch, but then she stayed aggressive and then hits the deadlift German suplex for the 3 count. I thought that would have been a really good finish, but it gave Rana just a little bit more credibility. The fact that like Suzu's hitting bomb after bomb and then hits the German tequila shot, but then that Rana kicked out. It was just like, you could even see Suzu on her face. It was like, what? Okay, let me put her away. I just thought that little bit was great storytelling for Suzu to put Rana over, to get her in a bigger light. The fact that it's like, we know that she can kick ass, but she can take an ass kicking as well and has really great fight Ultimately, though, Suzu puts her away. She follows up the tequila shot with a deadlift German suplex. 4.25 stars for me, my friend. Again, I had high expectations for this match, but again, this is another hidden gem of a match and what is an absolutely fantastic tournament.
Moving on, Hanan versus Yuna Mizumori. Hanan having to win to make sure that she went through to the playoffs, and she did, getting to 9 points, securing the victory over Yuna Mizumori. It does guarantee her a place in the playoffs, though, of course, where she would seed would ultimately lie with the main event. But her victory did eliminate Mei Seira from proceedings. But again, a solid performance from Hanan and from Yuna Mizumori. Yuna Mizumori, again, in the same breath as Ron Yagami, someone who has had consistently really good matches. A tournament that probably won't be remembered by many due to just the tournament runs of the likes of Natsuko Tora, of Tomoka Inaba, of Saya Kamatani, of all these different people who've had tremendous tournaments, Momo Watanabe and Sari and all of that. But she's been putting in low-key tremendous performances day after day.
She wrestled low-key, the god of mischief, Rob. I tell you what, just that's a match
I'd rather wrestle him than the guy from Ring of Honor. I'm just putting that out there.
I told you that, so I got kicked in the throat from him accidentally, and I couldn't eat for 3 days. Another story for another day. I think
accidentally.
Anywho, he was always very nice to me. But it's funny enough, the guy that plays low-key, I met him at Comic-Con, was not very nice to me. Anyway, yes. Anyway, we're really off kilter here, folks. I liked how this match started out with a high-speed style, and Hanan went for the 17 roll-up. And you're like, you're conditioned, like this could be the finish because of some of these matches may end. And then it doesn't, but then they build it back. It's about 7 minutes or about 6 minutes later, and then Hanan does get the win with the 17 rope. So I like how they tease in the beginning, and then we get back and forth, and then we get Yuna kind of using her power to overpower Hanan. But Hanan she knows too many tricks of the trade. You know, she's been in this main event scene for quite some time in Stardom. Again, obviously, she won the Cinderella tournament last year. She almost defeated Soriano at last year's All-Star Grand Queendom, won, semifinals of this tournament last year. She does a great job coming from underneath and is able to put Yuna away eventually with the 17 roll-up after Yuna just really hitting bomb after bomb with those lariats and the Hawaiian smasher. It looked like that we were going to get an upset, which would have led to a playoff with Hanan and Mei Seira, which we would have said no to. The only one that would have suffered there would have been all of the chairs in Korakuen Hall, because you know how that would have went, Rob Gillen. But regardless, Hanan getting the win with the 17 roll-up on Yuna Mizumori. Yuna, another really great tournament. 3 3/4 stars for me. Thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Moving on then, Azumi versus Sayaka Kurora. Sayaka Kurora ending the tournament with perhaps her biggest shock of, well, aside from perhaps winning the Cinderella tournament, arguably, but one of the biggest shocks of her entire career, managing to get the win over Azumi, who, of course, already qualified for the playoffs. Matt, what do you think of Sayaka Kurora's tournament? Because I don't feel like she's someone we've talked about that much, despite being in a block where every single person has produced a real, and we did highlight Red Stars B as the block to watch, the block of death, if you will. I think Sayaka Kurora's more than held her own, often on the wrong end, but my mind is cast back to her matches with the likes of Tomoka Inaba, her match with Natsupoi, her match with Kid. I think she's done tremendously well.
I think this was her best match of the tournament. I think she saved the best for that. And again, she had great matches. You're in there with Natsupoi, the match with Tora, obviously. That was, as far as old school heat, you had your underneath baby face, which we've been saying Sayaka Kurora is such a great underneath baby face, because once she makes the proper comeback, and she understands crowd psychology, once she makes that proper comeback, especially it's on a heel that people like to boo, like a Natsuko Tora, it's the big boom reaction. But as far as and again, it was a great match. But as far as the Stardom style match, this was her best match. I mean, she's in the ring with Azumi, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, Rob, I know we're probably gonna record our final on Monday. Azumi is the MVP of this tournament. Not unless something crazy happens on Saturday. For me, she's the MVP of this tournament. Just another great match here. And I didn't know which way it was going to go. When this match first started, I'm like, Azumi's going to get the win here. She's going to get the 1 seed. And then they're building up towards the end. I'm like, maybe it's Sayaka Kurora. I'm like, clearly not. No, it's Azumi. No, it's Sayaka Kurora. No, it's Azumi. The way that they built up this finish, I was on the edge of my chair. I thought there was really great stuff. Sayaka Kurora, she hits the big spear, scores her 2 count. She goes for the violent shooting. Azumi ducks that. She goes to the arm. She starts hitting the kicks. And Azumi's kicks, it's just we've been mentioning the last 2 years, her striking game is at another level. That one kick that she hit Saya Kamatani with and Korakuen Hall, I mean, it absolutely echoed. Really great stuff there. Azumi, Sayaka Kurora, she finally hits the violent shooting. She goes for another spear. Azumi out of nowhere gets her with a cradle. I'm like, that's a really cool finish. No, Matt Turner, that's not the finish. I'm like, where are we going here? Like, I'm so enthralled with these finishes. Eventually, Azumi hits 2 brutal head kicks, hits a top rope stop. I'm like, that was a great match. I'm getting ready to write Azumi for 3. No, kicked out. I'm like, where did that kick out happen? I mean, again, it's Azumi who we all love, but Azumi can't put Sayaka Kurora away. Like, she just, here's my Ozzy Osbourne quote, she would just never say die. Never say die. Just really great stuff there. Azumi goes for the Azumi Sushi, but Sayaka Kurora stacks it. I'm like, oh my God, that's the finish. That scores a 2 count. She winds up hitting this Ultimate Warrior style spear where she's running off the ropes 100 times. But Azumi is like so dizzy from all these near counts that she doesn't see the spear until the very last second, which I absolutely love. And then she hits the spear and then rolls through the jackhammer. Very much the same sequence she used to defeat Rina earlier this year to win the Cinderella tournament. Uses it to defeat Azumi. 4.25 stars for me. Again, my opinion, Sayaka Kurora's best match of this tournament. Just right below the Kid match, the Tora match, and the Natsupoi match. She's had great matches in this tournament. You're absolutely right. We haven't spoken about her enough, and maybe I do need to do a spotlight episode where I go back and watch and review all of Sayaka Kurora's matches. Again, this was terrific. 4.25 stars and an absolute shocker as Azumi was just like, I can't believe I lost it because I thought she had it 4 or 5 times. Again, it was a really solid match for those last 3 minutes. Really had me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know which way it was going to go. And it went the way of the winner of the Cinderella tournament. And I don't mean the person that you've predicted 3 years in a row to win the Cinderella tournament, Azumi, this year's winner, and won Sayaka Kurora.
Imagine this being the only year I don't predict Azumi to win something. She wins the goddamn 5-star. Like, it would be my luck. And Karen Peterson, like, hat tip to Karen Peterson, has Azumi to win the tournament. There is every possibility that Karen Peterson might be doing the world's biggest victory lap following this. I mean, you can understand Azumi's frustration. All she needed was a point here, and she would have been the number 1 seed. And unfortunately, the 5-star is full of surprises, and she was on the end of 1. Instead, she was usurped by Natsupoi, who not only got the victory over Starlight Kid, but eliminated her entirely from the tournament, which is something that none of us saw coming in truth. This would leave Natsupoi at the top seed, Azumi is the 2nd seed, and Rina as the 3rd seed, bearing in mind that this is Rina's debut tournament. Starlight Kid, white belt champion, out before the playoffs, still has had a tremendous tournament because it's Starlight Kid, but this had to come as a surprise. I mean, we knew it was going to be a key match because it's on the final night, and you look at the matches that we've got on the final night, all of them mean something. But I think both of us had Starlight Kid being there or thereabouts in the playoffs, and actually probably being number 1 or number 2 seed. But to see her eliminated entirely was a huge shock. But once Natsupoi had that rough start to the tournament, I think both of us thought, right, okay, she's going to come back. And the victory over Starlight Kid not only puts her at the top of the block, but also gives her a right to that white belt. Do we see Poi versus Kid 3 later on in the year? Possibly, Matt. Possibly.
I was going to say we won't see it again because Natsupoi is winning she's winning the 5-star.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay. Rob, I was never so sure of a time limit draw in my life because I'm like, this is going to go to a draw. We're going to see some sort of crazy seeding with Azumi and Starlight Kid and Natsupoi and Rina and Korakuen Hall in the playoff, very much like last year that we got 2 of them. We got the 3-way with Azumi, Mei Sara, and Tomoka Inaba, and then we had the one with Hanan and
Suzuki, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, we're gonna get it here. Absolutely. We're gonna add on to that Korakuen Hall show. And then the bell rings, and then they're stalling. They're completely Memphising it in the 80s. And I'm like, these 2 are the 2 of the best high-speed wrestlers ever. It's just like the bell rings, and then they stall. And I'm like, all right, 14:58 to go. counting down the time. I'm like, and then they get in each other's face. They kind of look at each other and smile. I'm like, oh, this is clearly, they just wasted a minute doing nothing. I'm like, this is clearly going to the TLD. And then, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I heard the 5-minute countdown go. And I'm like, I don't think they did a 5-minute countdown in any other match, which they did, but I was just like, oh, this is clearly going to the time limit. I remember those Samoa Joe CM Punk matches where all of a sudden they're like, 30 minutes have gone by. I'm like, they've never done that in any other match before. Clearly, this is setting up the time limit draw. I like how in the beginning, though, Natsupoi goes for the German suplex, blocked. Starlight Kid goes for the Tiger suplex, that gets blocked. So clearly, we're establishing those moves. I'm like, oh, they'll hit it right towards the 15-minute time limit, Rob. But these two, they're going. Obviously, Poi is going to Starlight Kid's arm. Starlight Kid is going to Natsupoi's knee. So that's the psychology there. We get some great back and forth stuff between the two. We wind up on the apron, and I just don't know what it is. Starlight Kid just needs to get off that apron. We saw it with Rina when I mentioned that reverse suplex, which is just crazy. Natsupoi hits poor Starlight Kid with the German suplex onto the apron. Starlight Kid goes to the outside. She tries to get a breather. Natsupoi's like, not on my watch, kid. Pun intended. Hits that beautiful dive to the floor, wiping out not only Starlight Kid, but half the front row. That was fantastic. Back into the ring we go. Starlight Kid gets the knees up on the Pharaoh gift, hits those insane shotgun knees, and then Starlight Kid hits her version of the Pharaoh gift, that 180 splash, or as Andy Header calls it, the Twisted Bliss, because he's a massive Alexa Bliss fan.
Alexa Bliss fan, yeah.
Remember when he cosplayed her at Comic-Con a couple of years ago?
Absolutely incredible.
And then I think he met Britt Baker. Anywho, another story for another day. Natsupoi rose through the Tiger suplex with the fairy magic, and I bid on that. And I was like, surely this can't be it. That scored a 2.9 count. Starlight Kid comes back with a Black Tiger pile driver. That scored her a 2 count. And then Starlight Kid the Natsupoi comes back with the spin kick, goes for the Ferial ring. Starlight Kid is able to block that, hits the rolling suplex, Tiger suplex. That was a 2 count. And then Starlight Kid goes back to Natsupoi's knee. So I like that. I like how she has to slow Natsupoi down, has to counter wrestle and use some of her big moves to kind of break down Starlight Kid, but then goes back to the knee. That was her agenda in the first place. So she uses those big bomb moves, the Black Tiger pile driver and the rolling Tiger suplex, then to go back to Natsupoi's knee. I love the psychology there. Locks in the leg killer submission. I'm like, that might be it. Natsupoi rolls all the way through, hits those 2 rolling sobuck kicks, or as she calls now the crown headache thing or whatever that you mentioned before.
The crown headache.
That's what it gets you. Splitter and headache, same difference, right? Hits those 2 kicks. And then Starlight Kid blocks a 3rd kick and then goes back to the leg killer submission. Again, we mentioned how Starlight Kid's like, I got no problem taking 2 or 3 of these, kicks, whether it's to the chest or the head, because eventually I'm going to catch one, dragon screw him back into the leg killer submission. So goes back to the leg killer. Natsupoi rolls through, back to the fairy magic. And I was like, she did it once before. She'll kick out again. Rob Goodwin, she didn't kick out.
She did not.
And this match only went like 11 minutes. And it was still great. My favorite match of the show, 4.5 stars. I thought this was terrific, but I was like, oh, this was terrific. Didn't see it coming. Starlight Kid eliminated. Will not make it to Korakuen Hall. And my first thought process was, oh, how are they going to draw in Korakuen Hall without their white belt champion, Rob? And they fit a few dozen people in there, which we will talk about. 4.5 stars, one of my favorite matches of this tournament. Really great stuff. These two are just absolutely can't miss. And I do hope they run it back, Rob. Maybe they run it back at Dream Queendom. Maybe we have the proper build-up and they run this back 1 year to the date of probably one of my top 5 favorite Wonder of Stardom Championship matches of all time. Because that match they had at Dream Queendom last year was phenomenal. And maybe that's what they do. Maybe they build that match. Can you imagine if it's like Kamatani versus either Izumi or Momo Watanabe as your main event, and then Starlight Kid versus Natsupoi for the white belt, Sari versus Suri for the IWGP, and then Mercedes Moné versus Tam Nakano for the TBS. I mean, that's the way to go. See how I just deadpanned you? Because all those matches may happen. And then Mercedes Moné versus Tam Nakano. And then Fukin Death versus Megaton and the battle for the greatest human being of all time. So,
I mean, that would be a 240-minute Ironman match. Because I mean, how would you ever split them? I would be surprised if they run it at Dream Queendom again. Obviously, we had a tweet. It might be nothing. It might be nothing, Matt.
Oh, that's right.
It might be nothing, Matt. Don't build your hopes up.
I'm looking at your shirt.
There's a reason I'm wearing my Hazuki top. She did mention on Twitter that she was not done with Starlight Kid and the white belt. Starlight Kid did tweet her back saying, "Give me back my mask," which well, like, actually, yeah, that was a year ago. Give her back a mask, Hazuki. I think Starlight Kid has probably got a few spare, to be fair. But in my head, I would love for Hazuki to be the one at Dream Queendom to do it. Finally, I think Natsupoi, if she challenges, it will either be after Dream Queendom or they may run it at Crimson Nightmare. Maybe.
That's a possibility.
Both of these women are at crossover as well.
That you can do it there as well because you want to. They always had that Stardom match that steals the show. Mayu and Kairi, Mayu and Momo. That could be here as well. There's a lot of interesting possibilities because after Hazuki's match, I think it was last weekend. I think it was against Aquino. She did say, yeah. and it was all over the Stardom English Twitter and then their regular Twitter that they did the interview and put it all over there where she said she's coming back to Stardom to win the singles championship. I don't think it's the future Stardom champion. I don't think it's the high speed champion. I think it's going to be that Wonder Belt. And clearly they did that promo and put up on all their social medias for a reason. And then it was like the next day after we knew Starlight Kid would not make it into the playoffs that she was like, they were kind of going back and forth. And I was like, oh boy, howdy. And you can even do it as a title versus mask match. Because technically I know that Starlight Kid, it's her mask, but possession is 9/10 of the law. Hazuki has it. That's a possibility. And Starlight Kid put a tweet out earlier today. Who would, even though I didn't qualify for the playoff, I'm very disappointed, but I want to defend this belt and be the best Wonder Stardom champion of all time. Who would you like me to see me defend the belt against? And of course, you had lots of retweets and comments, a lot of different wrestlers, Rob, but to the surprise of nobody, the people that people want to see her defend that belt against the most is against the Wild Heart herself, the People's Champion, Rob, going the wrestling machine, Hazuki. So yes, I completely, in the midst of all this craziness, we have Hazuki coming back, and maybe, just maybe, that after the Tomoka Inaba match, because I think we need that match, I think that we do get Hazuki versus Starlight Kid. I'm hoping. I'm putting my eggs on that basket. If it doesn't happen, Rob Goodwin, it's okay. I'll figure it out.
We'll get through it, my man. And after all, even if Hazuki is the one that challenges at Crimson Nightmare, there is history between Natsupoi and Hazuki. So there is every possibility that we could get that at Queendom. Who knows?
Even Tomoka Inaba and Hazuki would be a slightly above average match too.
I imagine they would have some manner of chemistry. Moving on to the semi-main event, then Ami Sourei versus Bozilla in what can be classed as a straight shootout for the final seeding. If Bozilla wins, she would have moved to top seeding. Ami Sourei needed a win to go above Bozilla. Sorry, both these women already qualified courtesy of Miyu Amasaki losing to Aizukura earlier in the night. And Ami Sourei got the win, and it's a win that we thought Ami Sourei might get over Bozilla. Now,
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to continue. Go ahead. I apologize.
So rude. Just diving in. They're so excited to talk about Bozilla and Ami Sourei, and I get it. I
apologize. Continue, good sir.
Honestly, groovy. Finger on your lips, Matt Turner.
Groovy.
No, all I was going to say was what has been very different about Bozilla's run in Stardom than it is in Marigold is the fact that obviously in Marigold she was built as this huge dominant force and she would lose to your top stars, Sari, Utami. Yet in Stardom, you look at the people she's lost to. Azumi, yeah, okay, big star, but Suzu and Ami Sourei, not necessarily your top stars in your company. And she's not only put on great matches, but she's also been very gracious in defeat. And I think that's something that we are seeing Bozilla become more developed in terms of her wrestling. We know that she's a dominant force. We know that she's going to be launching people around the ring. And, that's great to watch. We as wrestling fans love big people throwing other, slightly smaller people around a ring. But it's interesting then to see what Bozilla is like on the back foot. And I think that's something that she's done tremendously well. Full credit to Ami Sourei, by the way. Getting Bozilla up for the like of Thunderbolt, very, very impressive. And City Hamamatsu, very, very impressed.
Yeah, this match starts out. I needed a breather, Rob Goodwin, because that last match not only was great, kind of broke my heart a little. And I love that. And I love Natsupoi, but knocking Starlight Kid, my pick to win. So I needed a breather. This match starts out with a big lockup. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
We get a tackle trade off, and then Amisori kind of gets the first advantage. She starts throwing chops, starts throwing lariats, and then she gets Bozilla up in the torture rack. So Amisori's got a really big advantage here, and then Bozilla gets out of torture rack and just hits this insane headbutt. And the match, just with that headbutt, turns right around. But Bozilla, like 4 minutes in, hits the Styles Clash. I was like, she's winning matches with that and basically hitting that almost as a transition, but it made sense in this part because Bozilla was getting rocked early on and needed to hit a few bombs to kind of shift the move back, the match back into her favor, which I really enjoyed. It made sense there. Eventually, we go to the floor. Amisori was just like, I just watched that Starlight Kid versus Natsupoi match. I want some of these dives. And she does an apron dive. Lucha Amisori, which I thought was really cool. We get back in the ring. Bozilla hits a release power bomb, which that was, wow. I mean, launching Amisori around the ring. I mean, these two were launching each other around the ring. They were getting up for their big moves, and these two were taking big bumps that make each other look really good. A great hard-hitting match. Amisori with some great fighting spirit hits a big lariat. Bozilla comes back with a brutal DVD. That was a 2 count. We do see Bozilla hits the 1 power bomb, and then she hangs on, goes for the second. However, Amisori is able to escape that. She hits a couple corner lariats, and then she puts Bozilla up on the second rope and then picks her up for the Like a Thunderbolt. Really great match. A lot of big bumps, especially towards the end with Amisori hitting the biggest bump at the end. Again, you want your match to end at your coolest spot, which that was the coolest spot. The lariat into the Like a Thunderbolt. 4 stars for me. A really, really great match between two fantastic wrestlers.
And that took us to our main event. Bea Priestley defeating Saya Kamatani to go through as the 2nd seed, meaning it will be Hanan going through as the 3rd seed. And there were some people very, very negative about the fact that Bea was the one to beat Saya Kamatani. Ultimately, someone has got to beat Saya because Saya is not winning the tournament. Much as it will be an interesting little turn up for the Bucks, someone's going to have to beat Saya. Why not Bea Priestley? Bea Priestley is not going to take the championship off Saya Kamatani. It's just not going to happen. She would be a great defense for Saya Kamatani. And I think everyone acknowledges that. And I think, we've said it before, I don't really understand the negativity about Bea's run in the 5-star because I think she's had a really good 5-star. I think she's had some great matches. I was a little bit disappointed with the Lady C match. But aside from that, I don't think she's had a bad tournament still. I think her and Saya Kamatani had really good chemistry in this match. And again, once they've got, the 30 minutes to play with for the World of Stardom Championship at Stardom to the World, I think they're going to, again, have a blow-away match. And I thought this was a really, really good match, Matt.
This was excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed this. My opinion, Bea Priestley's best match of the tournament. The May Sarah one is right there as well. Hanan is right there as well. But you're right. She's had a really great tournament. And I was really glad, obviously I love Saya Kamatani. I was glad that Bea won because I was like, we're going to get this back in a bigger setting with more time with, again, the richest prize in all of wrestling on the line, Saya Kamatani's World of Stardom Championship. There was some wild stuff that happened in this match before. And again, Bea Priestley's fantastic. She's a great main event style wrestler. Again, former Goddess of Stardom champion, former World of Stardom champion. And Saya Kamatani has no problem taking like wild bumps. We had a really good start of this match. Saya Kamatani gets the early advantage. She does that crazy running apron dive, early on in the match to kind of set the tone. But then Bea does a great job with just the Bea trigger, those brutal forearms, really overpowering and dominating Saya Kamatani with her strikes. They go to the top rope or top rope fight. Bea Priestley hits a top rope Falcon Arrow. I was like, okay, all right, works for me. Then she goes for the second Falcon Arrow. Kamatani is able to get out. She hits a Star Crusher in the middle of the ring, Rob, but she can't follow up. So you had that great sequence with the top rope Falcon Arrow, goes for a regular one. Kamatani gets out, hits the Star Crusher, can't follow up, and now we're slowing. That's your exclamation point onto the end of that sentence. And by that sentence, I mean that long spot between the two. I really enjoyed that because now we're on the cell and we're giving time for the fans to breathe. And now we're like anticipating like what's going to happen next. And then we build and build and build. Really great stuff. There we get a forearm trade out between the two. Kamatani gets the better of that, hits a pump kick. She goes for that 360 ground kick. However, Bea Priestley gets out. She hits a German suplex, lariat, and Falcon Arrow combination. I thought that was great because he hits the German. Kamatani gets up and she's all like, dazed and confused. Big lariat. Kamatani, of course, takes a crazy bump and then hits the Falcon that she looked for earlier after top row Falcon Arrow. Cashes in on that. Gets a really great falsie. I thought that was terrific. B hits a Uranagi. She goes to the top rope. We get a top rope fight between the two. It looks like Kamatani wins the top rope fight. Rob Goodwin, obviously, we've seen a lot of Saya Kamatani matches over the last 4 or 5 years. We know when Kamatani has the advantage on the top rope, she's going to hit that top rope Hurricanrana. I'm like, well, that makes sense because B hit a top rope move. Now you need to switch and have Kamatani hit a top rope move. I've never seen this before. Kamatani jumps up in midair, go for the top rope Hurricanrana, and B just hits her with a forearm out of midair. And I was like, that's a wild bump to take because you don't know how hard that person's going to hit you as you're in midair and don't have really control. And Kamatani just takes a bump onto the apron. I was like, yowzers, okay. Really, I thought that was great. I've never seen that before. Forearms are out of the air. B hits the double stomp onto the back, which I absolutely love when she does that. We get some great back and forth stuff between the two. Kamatani puts B down. She goes to the top rope, teasing maybe the Phoenix Splash. B comes from behind her and gets her in the Queen's Landing, a move we have not seen since her Stardom days back in 2021 because she wins the majority of matches with the Plan B, pinning Saya Kamatani with the Queen's Landing. So not only did she hit that, Rob Goodwin, that is going to be a major falsie into the match on 9-6, and I'm willing to bet I'm going to Rob Goodwin 100%.
Oh, you silly boy.
That Saya Kamatani is going to hit a reverse Rana because we know Saya Kamatani loves her reverse Ranas in her championship matches. So that is going to happen. 4.25 stars, my second favorite match of the show. This was great. Had this match gone 4 or 5 minutes longer, I think it would have been the 4.5 to 5 stars because they would have more time to tell that main event Saya Kamatani level story, which we are going to get on 9-6, and I'm thoroughly excited for. Again, this was a great, great match. Some really crazy bumps and sequences between the two. Ultimately, B. Priestley hitting the Queen's Landing, and I like how she didn't hit it all during any of the matches. Didn't she? Like she saved it, and as soon as she locked up Kamatani for it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. This was B's big move when she was World of Stardom champion and pins the World of Stardom champion with it. I thought the symmetry was absolutely genius. And again, I had people tweet at me like, Matt, respectively, I didn't like this match. Like, I expect your opinion and Rob's opinion. I didn't like this match, which is fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but I thought this was great. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. Again, 4.25 stars for me.
B's best performance of the tournament so far?
Yeah, and I think that her and Kamatani are going to blow it out of the water on 9-6. Rob Goodwin, speaking of blowing out of the water, me and my wife not only tied going in, tied coming out. 9 points for me, 9 points for her. So we going into the playoffs, we tied at 80. Now, Rob Goodwin, here's where it gets interesting because now we are into the playoffs where the points matter the most. I mentioned this when we did our podcast on Monday. I got 11 out of 12 right in the playoffs. The one person I got wrong was the person winning the whole thing. Regardless, when you get a person right in the playoff, it counts as 2 points. So I get 22 bonus points. My beautiful bride only got 7. So going into this Korakuen show, Rob Goodwin, your podcast partner, 102, best baker in all of the land here, 94.
There you go, stretching out that lead. And again, we are pleased for you, but then again, you do watch this product religiously. Your wife
That was her excuse. That was her excuse. I don't know if you listened to the podcast with me and Andy Header, but when we did the KBS Hall review, it was Miyu Amasaki versus Saida. And you know this, Rob. Miyu Amasaki rarely loses in KBS Hall. So I explained that to Amber after she did her picks, but I didn't see her picks. I just want to let you know KBS Hall is Miyu Amasaki's hometown. She rarely loses. And she's like, oh, so she scratched it out and then put Miyu. And I'm like, I'm still going to pick Saida. So Saida won. So she keeps putting on the things. Yeah, she keeps putting on the things that she keeps putting on all these papers, +1, +1, +1. I was like, sweetheart, the only +1 you're getting is when me and you go to a wedding. So
just to wrap up then in terms of the blocks, Red Stars A, Saya Kamatani is your number 1 seed, B Priestley number 2, Hanan number 3. Red Stars B, Natsupoi number 1 seed, Azumi number 2, and Rina number 3. Blue Stars A, Soriano number 1 seed, Amisori number 2 seed, and Bozilla number 3. And then Blue Stars B, Sari. Yes, sorry. Sorry, number 1 seed, Suzu Suzuki, number 2 seed, and Momo Watanabe, number 3 seed, as we head into the playoffs. Now, just to remind everyone the way it worked, number 1 seeds get a bye into the quarterfinals. The playoffs were as follows: Suzu Suzuki versus Bozilla, Amisori versus Momo Watanabe, Azumi versus Hanan, and Rina versus B. Priestley. That show, of course, would take place from Korakuen Hall on the 20th of August. Again, the announced attendance inside Korakuen Hall in Tokyo was 1,589 people, which Stardom has confirmed is a sellout. Now, this is their 4th highest Korakuen of all time. It's also a 47.95% increase on the previous show at Korakuen from earlier in the tournament, where they only drew 1,074 on the 6th of August. It's also the highest Korakuen attendance in 5-star Grand Prix history, beating out the previous best of 1,528 in 2022. It's the highest Stardom attendance in Korakuen since March for the company, but it is the 14th Korakuen Hall in a show in a row that has surpassed 1,000, and it's the 18th of the last 19. So some really fantastic numbers. Again, just before the show, it was announced that the full show would be live on YouTube. We know that we are going to get English commentary on the video on demand from Walker Stewart. In terms of the matches then, in terms of the results, Blue Stars playoff match 1. Suzu Suzuki defeated Bozilla with a German suplex in 11 minutes and 40 seconds. Red Stars playoff match 1. Azumi defeated Hanan with the numero uno in exactly 10 minutes. Blue Stars playoff match 2. Momo Watanabe defeated Amisori with the Peach Sunrise in 11 minutes and 41 seconds. Red Stars playoff match 2. Rina defeated B. Priestley with a jackknife pin in 11 minutes and 29 seconds. We then had a tag team match, which saw Emma Maishima and Uriah Hime defeat Kikyo Furusawa and Akira Kurigani, with Uriah Hime pinning Kikyo Furusawa with the modified neck scissors in 5 minutes and 41 seconds. We then moved on to the quarterfinals. Blue Stars quarterfinal 1. Sioriano defeated Suzu Suzuki with a special pottering in 11 minutes and 11 seconds to move to the semi-finals on the 23rd of August. Red Stars quarterfinal match 1. Azumi defeated Saya Kamatani with the Azumi Sushi in 12 minutes and 27 seconds. Enormous chance of Azumi throughout Korakuen Hall here, matched only by the chance for Momo in the Blue Stars quarterfinal that followed, with Momo Watanabe defeating Sari with the Peach Sunrise in 15 minutes and 13 seconds. And then in your main event, Red Stars quarterfinal match, we've already touched on it. Rina defeating Natsupoi in what is one of the shocks of the tournament, perhaps the shock of, well, certainly the shock of this show. With the hydrangea, 13 minutes and 21 seconds. And Matt, we opened this show with a bang, both metaphorical and physical, because yes, it was an all Mi Vida Loca affair, and yes, we observed the code of honor to start the match, and that is where that ended, because these two women then absolutely launched themselves at each other all around Korakuen Hall. Just an absolutely breathless opening to this show, and it didn't stop until the final bell of Rina and Natsupoi.
Yeah, again, this was fantastic. This whole show was great. This is my second favorite show of the year in all of wrestling. All-Star Grand Queendom's number 1. This is number 2. This show is probably my top 2 or 3 all-time favorite 5-star shows of all. Number 1 is definitely the 2022 finals. And this is right up there, like maybe 2 or 3. I'd really have to sit down. And the fact they gave this free on YouTube, I mean, I touted this out to my friends that only watch American wrestling or occasional watchers. I'm like, here's the link. Enjoy yourself. Don't say that Uncle MT is never giving you anything. You absolutely you're right. You start out, you have the 2 faction members. They shake hands. Suzu Suzuki, a veteran of the Ring Wars, turns her back on Bozilla.
Turns her back. It's like, what are you doing?
And then Bozilla's like, okay, German suplex. So literally, Rob, one of the greatest wrestling shows I have seen this year. How does it start off with a release German suplex? We're in the playoffs, baby. You know, this is it. This is the knockout round. Then we go some back and forth. Obviously, Suzu comes back. And you made mention, Rob, about the chance for Momo and Azumi and Rina. Suzu Suzuki got crazy over on the show as well, especially halfway through that.
Bozilla.
Yeah, Bozilla as well. I mean, everybody got over, but like Suzu, especially halfway through that Soriano matches, the chants in Korakuen were really loud for her.
They were.
But you're right. This match goes to the floor. We're all over the place. I mean, these two were just, again, this is the playoffs. They're playing for keeps. We'll shake hands afterwards, which eventually they did. Bozilla, it's a big DVD for a 2 count. She hits a power bomb that scores her a 2 count. And then she hits the drill a hole pile driver. And I was like, oh man. And I thought that was
really early on.
And I was like, okay, this is how this is going to end. And Suzu kicks out. Because not many people have kicked out of the drill a hole pile driver. So awesome on Bozilla letting Suzu kick out of that, because that's a big move. Not only that, but after hitting a DVD and a power bomb and then the drill a hole pile driver. I mean, Bozilla's really pouring it on to Suzu Suzuki here. Bozilla goes for the Vader bomb, Rob, and no water in the pool, as Joey Styles would say. And then Suzu comes back with a tequila shot. I'm like, oh man, Bozilla's taking these crazy bumps on her head. Then she takes a German. Like Bozilla's like properly bumping all over the place for Suzu in this match. Suzu hits a series of head kicks, a release German suplex, and I really like the finish. She's going for that the locomotion style German suplex, and she's got the waist lock on Bozilla. Can't get it. Bozilla turns around. She goes for a haymaker lariat. Suzu ducks and just happens to have just the upper hand at that second, has the momentum to hit another German suplex for the 3 count. 4 1/4 stars for me. What a great way to start this show. And you know what, Rob, I talked about this with Andy Header, both off and on air during Talk Joshi. When you're in tournament matches, when you have more than one match, sometimes one match suffers because it's just like, okay, I'm going to put everything into this match. This other match, I may have to cut a couple things out just because, like, I can't go all part of my language, balls to the wall on both matches. Every single match went balls to the wall. I mean, it was just like, no, I'm not holding anything back. Credit goes to everybody on this show. Great stuff. Bozilla, fantastic. The fact that she's coming off this great tournament, this great match, and then is going over to England for Forbidden Door, only more momentum for her. And Suzu Suzuki looked like an absolute badass, taking a beating, but able to withstand the storm. Tequila shot, German suplexes, great stuff there. Great showing from Suzu Suzuki. Again, you want to talk about MVPs of this tournament. Somebody told me that Suzu is my MVP of this tournament. I wouldn't say no, because she's a wrestler that nobody's really talking a lot about, not only this tournament, but this year. Suzu's having a low-key wrestler of the year for what she's been able to do, both in tag and singles wrestling, and really a great tournament for Suzu Suzuki. Again, 4 1/4 stars for me, partner.
Yeah, an absolutely fire opener. It really was. And that didn't let up, because we then moved to Azumi and Hanan, which Matt Turner, I think it's fair to say that you raved about this match. Now, I said to you, because obviously I was on the train up to Glasgow during this show, and train Wi-Fi is spotty at best. So I was at one point, I believe, 19 minutes behind you. And I got a text from you just as Azumi walked out. I'm not going to use the exact words.
I swore.
You did. Matt Turner used bad language, foul language. In fact, he's been corrupted. But he was a huge fan of this match. Matt, obviously, with this tournament nearing its end and with this show having put on some absolute bangers, is this match still your match of the tournament?
Let me preference. We're gonna dive just a half a step back, partner. So again, I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, I was in the gym at 3:30 in the morning on my day off from work, folks, because I'm crazy and I'm full of branched chain amino acids. I'm full of 5% mentality, which I swear by. Creatine. I'm ready to go. Come home. The Matt Turner shake. You got your oatmeal. You got your berries. You got your banana. You got your peanut butter. I'm full of energy. And then that was the first match we got, and then we have this. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Hanan. But I was like, I really hope Azumi wins, because I want to see that Azumi versus Saya Kamatani match. Even though they did set up Hanan versus Kamatani a little bit at the last Korakuen, so it can go either way. I didn't know which way it was going to go. Rob, to answer your question, I'm sorry, one more thing. As great as this tournament has been, and I mentioned this to my wife a few days ago, as great as this tournament has been, I have rated 0 matches 5 stars. Not one match has gotten the 5-star for me. Last year, you had Tam and Mayu on night 1. You had Mike and Hazuki halfway through. The 2023 tournament, I had Julia and Soriano 5 stars. I had Suzu and Shuri 5 stars. we're on the tournament. And again, there's a lot of four-star matches, 4.5, 4 3/4. Nothing has touched 5 stars. Rob Goodwin, you know where I'm going with this. This was 5 stars.
Yeah.
This was my match of the tournament. This, in my opinion, is Hanen's best singles match she's ever had. And this is the best Azumi singles match outside of anything with Starlight Kid she has ever had. This was great. This was great back and forth. And the match was so great. And you're building towards the finish to the point where I didn't know Azumi was going to win, but they really got me towards the end. I'm like, oh my goodness, I think Hanen is going to win. We're getting really great stuff between the two. I'm going to kind of just go through towards the end. Azumi rolls through a backdrop. She's able to hit the double stomp. Azumi counters a roll up with an arm bar. Azumi with a brutal head kick. That scores her a 2 count. Azumi goes to the top rope for a top rope stomp, and she plants Hanen. I mean, she's halfway across the ring, and she hits Hanen with this double stomp. I was like, yowzers. They made it to scrape up poor Hanen off the ring. She goes for a cover. Hanen kicks out, and then she goes to pick Hanen up, and she can't pick Hanen up. And even I think it was Daichi was like, stay back. And I was like, oh my God, I think Hanen broke a rib. Because like Hanen tries to get up and she can't. And I'm like, because the injury thing has happened so much in the last 3 years, you never know. So it was like, and that double stomp was brutal. So the fact that she couldn't get up for the next spot, I don't know if it was a sell or I don't know if Hanen sucked it up. But regardless, I was like, oh my God. And that added for me the drama. Really great stuff there. Hanen counters a destroyer with a pop-up European uppercut, hits a second rope back. Like she puts Azumi up on the second rope and then hits a backdrop because the regular one's not dangerous enough. And it's not like Azumi's 8 feet tall, like just drops Azumi like a pencil on her head. And then she goes for a second one. Azumi escapes because I was like, there's no way Azumi's going to get out of this because she just got dropped on her head. Azumi rolls through, or she escapes the second backdrop. Azumi sushi. I'm like, that's going to be the finish. Hanen kicks out and then comes back with a 17. Oh my God, that's the finish. Hanen comes back, European uppercut, backdrop, goes for the second one, but Azumi holds on into like a headlock takeover. I love the headlock takeover. Uses the headlock takeover to roll through and then hits the Canadian Destroyer and then locks Hanen into the numero uno, and then it gets worked. Gets to the rope, almost to the ropes. Azumi pulls her back, almost gets to the other side of the ropes. Azumi rolls through and then properly steps over and locks it in. So not only did she win with the numero uno, the way that it was sold, the way that it was worked, the way it was teased that Hanen can properly get out. Eventually, Azumi gets her in the middle of the ring and locks it in the way that she wants to get the tap out. 5 stars for me. And I was like, oh my goodness, this was so great. This was fantastic. Match of the tournament. Again, Hanen's best singles match, Azumi's best singles match that doesn't include Starlight Kid. This is as good as pro wrestling is going to be. And I was like, I know we have this is match 2. Like, I know we have other matches I'm looking forward to. There's no way that anything can follow this up. Can they? Can they, Rob?
Amisori versus Momo Watanabe. Turns out, Matt, yes, we can. We can follow this show up. And look, this was sort of telegraphed in a way simply because we thought with Momo Watanabe and Sari holding something back in their block match, we assumed that we were going to get the second installment of that in the quarterfinals. And we did. Amisori was phenomenal in this match. Momo's great. We'll rain praise down on Momo Watanabe during the quarterfinal, I'm sure. But Amisori, we worried about her coming back from 2 severe knee injuries, 2 concurrent severe knee injuries, having been rumored to have been pushed heavily in last year's tournament and then to miss it entirely, to come back from that devastating an injury and to have the tournament that she's had where there's almost universal positive praise for Ami's tournament. And we've talked about people who haven't missed a step in any match. We've talked about MVPs from Natsuko Tora to Tomoka Inaba to Azumi to Natsupoi. Amisori is my MVP of this tournament. And I know that comes with, really not Sari, really not Momo, really not Sioriano. Yes, they've all had tremendous tournaments. Bozilla's had a tremendous tournament. Amisori comes out of this tournament as a star. Yes, she
100%.
hasn't had five-star matches every match, but every match has been great. Every match has been brilliant. Every match has been different. And Amisori feels like a star. This tournament has done a world of good for her. And that is why she's my MVP. And to be honest, it's not even close. Amisori is far and away my number one MVP of this entire tournament. There's people who've progressed more, Uriah Himi, Aya Sakura, Wax Tsukiyama, Rian. But for me, in terms of star-making performances, in terms of hitting out of the park every single opportunity that she is given, Amisori is number one for me. And she proved it again here, even in defeat against Momo Watanabe. And it took cheating and 2 back-to-back moves to actually finish Amisori off. I thought it was another phenomenal performance, another cherry to put on top of what has been a tremendously enjoyable 5-star from Amisori.
Amisori's, I mentioned this about a week or two ago. Last week I mentioned when I podcasted with Andy that regardless of the rest of this tournament for Amisori, she's a main eventer. I can buy her having great matches with whoever the red.
Sorry, Matt, I'm just going to quickly cut you off there.
Please.
Sorry, and I know I joked with you earlier about being rude. No, and I know it is rude, but that's the whole point of this tournament. That for Amisori, that's been the whole point of this tournament. For me, she was never going to win it. However, what did we say earlier on? We are looking for baby faces to match Saya Kamatani. No, Amisori's not there yet, obviously. However, this tournament has elevated her to such a point that actually in 6, 7, 8 months, I can see Amisori standing across from Saya Kamatani on a big pay-per-view and it being brilliant and it's selling tickets. That's what this tournament has done for Ami. Sorry, please continue.
No, I will tell my wife that she's your MVP, and she's gonna, because that was her pick to win the whole tournament. So I'm gonna see if she's gonna demand bonus points, buddy. Because
she should absolutely,
yeah, and she'll probably get it because that's the kind of guy that I am. I liked how Momo Watanabe in this match went to the Grand Deathlock. We haven't seen her use that in quite some time. Like Amisori's bullying Momo Watanabe around in this match early on, and Momo's just like leg trip, Grand Deathlock, knee bar, back to the Grand Deathlock. I really like that. Then Amisori gets out of it, sells, fires up through. She hits a corner lariat, big superplex. She goes for the blue thunder bomb early on, which we know that usually sets up for the like a thunderbolt. Momo gets out and hits his brutal head kick. And then we go to the floor, and Ami gets the better of Momo on the floor. And then Amisori goes to the top rope to go for a dive. I'm like, okay, Amisori's adding dives into her arsenal. Sure, why not? And then the members of Hate hold Amisori, and that leads to Momo hitting an apron B driver. And I was a little worried about that because I kind of knew where Momo was going next. We're getting that Momo versus Suri match where we know we're going to have a molten crowd. And I was like, I wonder if the heat is going to transfer from this match over to the Suri match. And there's going to be heel heat on Momo when it should be on Suri. Sorry or Suri, however you want. I know different people call it Suri or Sorry all the time. So bear with me, folks. Obviously, it didn't happen because once that match happened, we had a clear babyface and a clear heel. But anywho, she hits the B driver on Amisori on the apron. We go back and forth. We get back in the ring. We get head kicks. We get lariats. Ami hits the blue thunder bomb that she tried for earlier. Momo comes back with some brutal kicks. He hits the punk kick for a 2 count. Ami escapes the Peach Sunrise, hits blue thunder bomb the second time. And then she goes for the Leica Thunderbolt. Momo Watanabe gets out. She hits a roll up and then a head kick. She hits the Tequila Sunrise. Now, Rob, this is funny because I watch this on YouTube. And YouTube, they love their ads. And I get it because that's how people make money. That's how we make money on our ads. It's just how it is, folks. I've seen enough Momo Watanabe matches that I know finishes, right? So she hits the head kick. She hits the Tequila Sunrise. I'm like, she's going to transition into the Peach Sunrise. That's going to be the finish. As she lifts up Amisori for the Peach Sunrise, a commercial comes up on YouTube. But it was a split screen. So I was just like, you know what? There could have been worse scenarios. By the time the commercial was over, Momo got her hand raised. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she won with the Peach Sunrise, but it was a split screen. I was like, how about that? And commercials did happen quite often, but nowhere near where it would really take away from the match. I just thought that was funny. 4.25 stars for me, my friend. This was absolutely fantastic, and probably out of these 3 matches, probably number 3. This is how great the show was. I had 4.25 stars, and it was the lowest ranking match up until this point. That's how great the show was. You're absolutely right, buddy. Amisori, we said that this is the opportunity tournament, and maybe with the exception of Rina, nobody took a bigger opportunity out of this tournament than one Ami Sourei. Great tournament, great matches. I buy her as a main eventer, absolutely.
Yeah, completely agree, my friend. Completely agree. Moving on, then, B. Priestley and Rina get an enormous chance from the get-go in this match. B getting a great reaction, but Rina is the star, and this bled into her match with Natsupoi. I thought this was another really good match, and actually, I thought this was B's best performance. I thought the Saya match was great. I thought this match with Rina, because of the back and forth, because of the chemistry they had, I actually preferred this match to the Saya match. And again, that's nothing negative towards the Saya match whatsoever. I just enjoyed this one a little bit more. And again, that's testament to Rina, man. Like, what a tournament this girl has had.
Rob, I actually went back and watched this entire show later on Saturday because Amber went out shopping, and I was like, I'm just going to put this on and kind of take a nap. B. Priestley mentioned Jamie Hayter's name. She said something. They're getting ready to lock up. And I didn't notice it the first time I watched. I noticed it when I watched it again Saturday afternoon. They went to go lock up, and she pointed to somebody, pointed to Rina, like, your show pie, kind of like how Jamie Hayter was. Because it was like, oh, yeah, because Rina, I think, was they were in the same time as Jamie Hayter. But she mentioned Jamie Hayter's name, where that was kind of funny. It kind of got a pop, and I think B popped herself. I got to go back. And if anybody knows exactly what she said, just folks, let me know. I thought this was really good. I think both me and you thought that B was going to win this, but once they announced that the Natsupoi match was the main event, I was like, ooh, might be Rina, because they're really doing a great job getting Rina over. Not many people, obviously, Rob, again, kudos to you, take your bow. Not many people pegged Rina making the playoffs because of how loaded Red Stars B were. But Rina did make the playoffs, so it's like, okay, she's already playing with house money. She's going to be 18 years old, definitely the future of this company. But once they announced that the Natsupoi's match was the main event, because we're like, Natsupoi's definitely going through. So I was like, it might be Rina. So even though I had B picked to win, I wasn't shocked that Rina won, considering that we'll get a Rina Natsupoi main event. Because even with Rina losing to Natsupoi, which I thought was going to happen, putting her in the main event on this big show in front of 1,500 people, another feather in her cap towards her really huge ascend over into Stardom this past year. I mean, just what she's been able to do has been incredible. But you're right, these two had really great chemistry, really great back and forth stuff. B using that base, overpowering Rina just being a little bit sneaky, being able to kind of get a couple things up over on B with the big German suplex. She goes for the plan B. However, Rina counters that with the pink devil for a 2 count. B comes back with the Uranagi, and then she goes for the Queen's Landing. It's like, hey, let's see if it's going to work again. Rina counters that with a roll-up. We get several roll-ups back and forth. Which way is it going to go? Eventually, Rina is able to roll all the way through, gets the jackhammer, and is able to put all of her weight on top of B's shoulder, getting the surprise win at 11.5 minutes. 4 stars for me. Just another fantastic match. And then B. Priestley, not only putting Rina over in the match, but properly putting her over, praising her as the future of Stardom and Joshi Pro Wrestling.
Absolutely. And that's been the thing with B as well. Like, if we were ever to speak to B, it would be...
I'm trying, folks, by the way. I'm trying, folks.
If we were ever to speak to B, it would be interesting to talk to her about how the landscape of Stardom has changed. Because the likes of Rina, they'd never faced each other in a singles match before, but she's faced Rina in tag matches, and obviously she'll have trained with her in the dojo and things like that. And I'd be really intrigued to hear what she's got to say about the development of the likes of Rina. You know, the likes of Asaya Kamatani, who, yes, was a far more established wrestler in 2021, but, you know, to look at where she is now, I'd be really intrigued to know her thoughts on how the landscape differs and how these wrestlers are now. Because again, every time she's lost, she's been very gracious in defeat. You look at that promo after the Hanan match in Utsunomiya, or again, the match here where she loses to Rina, and Rina is a heel. Rina is a brat. That is her character. Phenomenal wrestler, by the way, but she is a brat. And because this, you know, this really great promo, you know, about how she is the future of Stardom. And let's be perfectly honest, who are we to argue at this point? Because goodness gracious me, what a tournament she's had. We then had the match possibly we're going to spend the least amount of time talking about, just to catch your breath, a 5-minute little tag match. And I did sort of feel sorry for these women to a certain extent, because I don't think there was a single fan in Korakuen who was there for this match. But they did what they could in the 5 minutes before the intermission.
I'll say this, Rob. My only real complaint about this show is I wish this match got longer time. I get it, right? This is your kind of break, right? You know, you're going to catch your breath. We're going to go to intermission. This match was really good. As awesome as everything else was, I was thoroughly enjoying this match. And then it kind of just ended. I was like, oh man, they gave it like 6 minutes. Like, I wish they would have maybe taken a few minutes off intermission and given it to this match. Because again, you have all these major stars on the show. Crazy you don't have Tomoka, Tora, Ruaka, or Starlight Kid on the show. And still was. And I like that they gave these 4 rookies a showcase to show what they can do. Again, almost 1,600 people in Korakuen Hall, free on YouTube. I think there's already something like 200,000 views in like 24 hours, something like that. So it's like, it's still a showcase. I wish it would have got more time. I actually had 3 3/4 stars. I thought it was terrific. I really, really did. Again, that's my only complaint about the show is I wish this match that had nothing to do with the 5-star that we'll probably forget in a week or two. I wish it would have got 4 or 5 minutes, because I thought all 4 of these were great, especially Kyoko Furusawa. I thought she was the MVP in this match. But ultimately, you know that Uriah Hime was going to get the win, and rightfully so.
Moving on, we had the intermission and also the announcement that the 15th Goddesses of Stardom Tag League will come back this year. It's going to take place in November, with the first show taking place in Korakuen Hall on the 7th of November. They did announce all of the other shows as well, but unfortunately, my Japanese is not very good. So I'm waiting for them to publish somewhere before I can sort of get those out on the news. But yes, Korakuen Hall, first show of the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. Some interesting things. Bozilla was on there, so I am under the impression that we are going to get Bozilla in the Tag League. FWC were on there, so I'm under the impression we're going to have FWC. I think we're probably going to see Peach Lily in the tournament. Wingori, obviously, highly advertised due to them being the current winners, or the reigning tournament winners, should I say. It's going to be really interesting to see if we get Sayori Poi again. I'm looking forward to the tournament, and once all the 5-star action is out of the way, we can probably look at that tournament a little bit more. Because again, if Bozilla and Suzu Suzuki team up as Mivida Loca, holy mother of God, what a team that would be. But I digress. Let's go on to the quarterfinals. And Matt, the playoff matches were all great. They were all great. Good God, did it feel like we stepped up a gear for these quarterfinals, because genuinely the floor for these quarterfinals was but we started with this match, and this match, Matt, blew me away.
Rob, you just mentioned about the floor was, the bar was set. My lowest rated match of these quarterfinals is 4.5 stars. That's my lowest rated match. That's how great these were.
Mine was.
That was I don't think Soriano and Suzuki have ever wrestled each other before. And these are 2 of my favorite wrestlers in all of wrestling. And
they've wrestled each other. They've wrestled each other twice in Ice Ribbon.
But
never in Stardom.
Okay. And not only that, but the stakes are bigger. Again, I'm going to round up 1,600 people. How many people watching on YouTube? The winner of this goes to the pay-per-view. Suzu's the only former winner of this tournament. Suzu comes in, and I didn't realize, but in that Bozilla match, her back and her ribs were taped up. And then she looks like she's kind of in pain. And I'm like, I don't know if she's selling or what. Like, Suzu, obviously she went through a war with Bozilla, and she's kind of taped up again. And I was like, oh, I hope she's okay. Because, she wrestled. That Ranigami match was a hard-hitting match. The Sari match was a hard-hitting match. The Momo Watanabe was a hard-hitting match. And then her and Bozilla just destroyed each other. So this match starts off. Ami Sourei just runs up and kicks her right in the face with the step-up enziguri, hits a German suplex, and then 3 missile drop kicks. And I'm like, okay, Suzu Suzuki is hurt. Soriano is going to hit a few bombs, and we're going home. Like, that's what I thought that this was going to be. Like, okay, I get it. I get it. Like, okay, I would like to see that 10, 11, 12-minute match, but okay. Like, there's no way you start this match hot, not unless something crazy is going to happen. And then she goes for the Japanese ocean suplex. And Suzu gets her leg in the rope. I'm like, she'll probably just build up back to it, maybe catch her with the pottering. Then Suzu drops down and kicks Soriano right in the head, and then hits a couple stiff kicks, and Soriano sells, and then all of a sudden you just hear Suzu. So the whole psychology, Rob, which I thought was just to blitz Suzu and get her out of there, was to blitz Suzu, and then for her to hit 1 or 2 moves, pause, and get the pop from Korakuen Hall. And that's exactly what they did. I did not see that psychology coming, that crowd psychology coming. It worked, and it worked in spade because it got Suzu insanely over in this match and in this tournament. Really great stuff there. We get an apron fight between the two. Suzu hits she hits the apron pile driver. So it's like, okay, now we're having that match. Because we wouldn't have done the apron pile driver if we're getting Suzu out here in 3 minutes. Hits the apron pile driver, and then she hits the drive-by. Great stuff there. We go back to the floor fight because why not? And then Soriano hits the fisherman suplex onto the floor because we have not done enough damage to Suzu Suzuki not this match, but this night. Like Suzu's just getting battered. Just really goes to show you just how just intense and how great Suzu Suzuki is. We get the stiff arm exchange, and now the crowd is. It went from all about Suzu to now we're just here to see a great match because they're in for Sori, they're in for Suzu, just a hot crowd. Soriano hits a step up in Saguri. Suzu comes back with a buzzsaw kick. Suzu goes to the top rope. We get a top rope fight. Soriano hits the top rope Hurricanrana, locks in the Gambari lock, which again we've seen Soriano win a lot of matches with. I thought that might have been the finish. Suzu comes back, hits a snap German suplex. Soriano comes back, and now we have a German suplex exchange. And now the crowd, I think the roof is going to come off Korakuen Hall because this place is going ballistic for these two. Suzu hits a German suplex, a tequila shot, and then another German suplex. I thought that was going to be the finish because that's kind of the sequence Suzu's been winning a lot of matches with in this tournament. That's a 2.999 count. And then Suzu goes for the deadlift German suplex. And I'm like, oh, Suzu, you're holding it too long. I know this Soriano. Soriano gets out. And I'm like, oh, she's going to go for the Potter ring and she's going to win. But they stretch it out and they stretch out the drama. She goes for the backslide to go to the Potter ring. Suzu rolls all the way through and she goes for that buzzsaw kick. And I was like, oh my God, maybe Suzu might win. Soriano ducks the buzzsaw kick, trips Suzu. Suzu's in push-up position. Soriano rolls through with the special version of the Potter ring, the same version that she used to beat Miko Wada back at Dream Queendom. I thought that was the perfect finish because I was like, okay, I see how this is coming. And it eventually got there, but they stretched it out for the drama for me even more, which got even the bigger pop. So so much of the little things they did in this match made this match absolutely excellent. Rob, this is one of my favorite matches of the tournament. 4 3/4 stars. This was absolutely next level. How can it get any better, Rob Goodwin? Please tell me.
So Saya Kamatani and Azumi happened, and this is my match of the tournament. This was absolutely incredible. You went through everything. You went through the high speed stuff. You went through the heel control of Saya Kamatani, the babyface power up from Azumi, the quick trading of pinfalls. It was breathless. It was exhausting. It was so spectacularly and flawlessly wrestled, and it never broke down at any point, even when Saya is in control. And ordinarily, as a heel, you are looking to slow the match down, and it's almost like Saya is trying to outpace Azumi and prove herself as a better wrestler in that style than Azumi. This isn't about Queen's Quest. This is about tournament wrestling. This is about securing dominance. And obviously, you've got to wonder in the back of Saya's mind, losing 2 matches back to back, singles matches anyway. When was the last time Saya Kamatani did that? I mean, she hasn't lost in 350 days in singles competition before B. But when was the last time she lost 2 back-to-back? I can't think of the last time she lost 2 singles matches back-to-back. So there's that little bit of doubt there. So maybe that doubt is causing her to overcompensate in how she's wrestling. And ultimately, these two throw absolutely everything at each other. Korakuen Hall, this Korakuen Hall crowd is up there with the best Korakuen Hall crowd Stardom have ever had. Just in terms of immersion, in terms of noise, in terms of support. They were supporting the right people. They were vocal in their support of the right people. And it just added so much to this cauldron that was this show. And then, of course, Azumi kicked out of the Star Crusher. And the place became unglued because it wasn't just the Star Crusher, it was the spinning Star Crusher. And Saya has finished pretty much every match in the tournament with that move.
She'd be tan for the red. She'd be tan for the red belt with it. Yeah.
And Azumi kicks out, and Korakuen Hall's chants of Azumi are deafening. And then, of course, once she rolls her through for the double Azumi Sushi, I was like, oh my God, she's got it. She's got it. Now, not only does this condemn Saya Kamatani to another loss, but also we now have the possibility of Azumi challenging Saya Kamatani for the red belt, which makes the most sense in the world given their Queen's Quest past. A phenomenal match. This is as close to perfect as you're going to get. I gave it 4 3/4 stars. I thought it was so tremendously wrestled from both women. We often forget just how good Saya is at that high speed style, at that high octane style, and she proved it here. Ultimately, these two just phenomenal chemistry. Great match.
Yeah, you forget. Remember, she was high speed champion.
She was.
Yeah, if you remember that for a brief moment or two. To answer your question, Rob, and I'm thinking off the top of my head, obviously I'm the biggest Saya Kamatani fan in the world. I think the last time she lost 2 singles matches might have been the 2022 5-star Grand Prix. I think she lost like Julian Mina or Hazuki, something like that. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but like, geez, 3 years, it's a heck of a run. Echo your sentiments. You know, obviously I love Saya Kamatani, and this is the match I wanted to see so bad in the playoffs. So I was like, I don't want to get my hopes up too much because, like, I just watched Azumi have the best singles match he's ever had with somebody that's not Starlight Kid, and my match of the tournament, and the only match of the tournament I gave 5 stars. She's wrestling Saya Kamatani, the best wrestler in the world this year, in Korakuen Hall. I'm like, surely that can't be better than the Han match. Sure, and that's the thought I had going in. I'm like, it's got the potential to, but what's the possibility of Azumi getting 2 5-star matches on the same day? And Rob Goodwin, not only is this my favorite match of the tournament, this is probably, I'd have to sit down and think about it, with the exception of block finals, my all-time favorite 5-star Grand Prix match. I would obviously my 2 favorite 5-star Grand Prix matches, Momo and Shuri 2021 final, Tam and Julia 2022. Different days, I'll have different answers, but I'd really have to sit down and think about, like, as far as not actual finals, it's up there with like those Momo versus Mayu matches. It's up there with some of the Utami versus Shuri matches. This might be my favorite 5-star match of all time. That's not a block final. That's how good this was. Azumi putting on her 2 best singles, arguably her 2 best singles matches of her career on the same day is insane. And I mentioned a little bit ago, it's like sometimes when you're in tournament wrestling, you may want to take the gas off on one of those matches. So you're, just because it's like, can I really have 2 classics in one night? This is unbelievable. This was absolutely unbelievable. Kamatani was great. And I mentioned there was something I did, and I put this in parentheses because I wanted to point this out. I don't know if this was planned. I don't even know if Azumi know what she did, but the bell rings and Kamatani jumps Azumi. Azumi goes into the chairs. Saya gets the chair. She throws it in the ring, and she sits there and she does the pose. And there's all the cameramen, right? Kamatani's the biggest star, probably in Japanese wrestling. Let's just call it like it is. There's all the cameramen there. Pat Korakuen Hall. So there's like 8 cameramen, and Azumi slowly crawling in the ring, and she has to push the cameraman away to get in the ring. I thought that was such a cool visual. It's like, no, Kamatani, you're the reason why we don't have Queen's Quest anymore. Not only that, but I have to defeat you to get to the furthest point I've ever gotten to in my career, the semifinals of the 5-star, and she pushes the cameraman away. I thought that was such a cool visual. Then she gets drop kicked, goes to the outside. Kamatani hits the springboard springboard plancha, wipes out not only Azumi, but every member of Neo Genesis. I mean, she got some height on that thing.
She really did.
And then we go back into the ring, and then Azumi gets her first advantage, and she's been doing this a lot lately. She does the thing where she runs off the rope, she trips her opponent, and at that point, she's on the floor. She spins her opponent around and hits a head kick. The head kick she hit Kamatani with echoed so loud in Korakuen Hall. And the fact that she was getting her butt kicked as bad as she was, yet that was her first set of offense, was that huge head kick, was absolutely terrific. Azumi comes back, hits and then Kamatani rolls out to the floor. And because why not? Because Kamatani's nuts. Azumi hits a double stomp off the second rope to the floor. Rob, there is no give. It's one thing when she hit that one on Han in the ring, and I was like, that was stiff. The ring has a little bit of give. There is no give on that floor whatsoever. And I was like, holy geez, like, where are we going with this? And then we're amping up. We're going up. Azumi comes in. Josie dropkick for a 2 count. She goes for a top rope double stomp. Saya moves out of the way. Azumi rolls through. Then Azumi runs at Saya Kamatani. And then Kamatani does a thing where she floats in the air and comes down with her version of the double stomp. Like we're just building and building here. And then Azumi hit the C4 bomb. Sai Kamatani comes back. She hits the big drop kick. And Rob, I mentioned before, when you have all these crazy sequences, like you have a big paragraph or a big run-on sentence, you're a writer. You hit that exclamation point. That's the exclamation point. So you had all this great stuff, and then you have Zumi the C4 bomb. Kamatani gets up, hits that beautiful Okada Landstorm style drop kick, and now we breathe. That's the exclamation point. And that was such a great key part of the match. It's like, we need a breather, and these wrestlers need time to sell. And the crowd goes down, and they knew right to when come back up. Again, we talk about these two are two of the best wrestlers on the planet. They also understand crowd psychology, would add so much to the match. Zumi gets the advantage back. Rob Goodwin, she goes for the destroyer. Sai Kamatani blocks the destroyer with a forearm. You know who else has blocked the destroyer with a forearm in Korakuen Hall in 5-star Grand Prix action? Tommy Hayashishita. Maybe Kamatani was on the phone with her former Aphrodite teammate. So that I just thought that was really cool symmetry. I don't know if they meant to do that, but Kamatani gets the advantage with the another spin kick, and then she hits the she goes for the Star Crusher. Azumi escapes with the Azumi Sushi. Sai Kamatani rolls through, stacks it for a 2.9 count. Kamatani hits that kick trio, the spin kick, the 360 tornado kick. She goes for the Star Crusher, and then she gets it countered with the Canadian Destroyer that she was going for earlier. And then the Azumi Sushi. I'm like, this is the finish, 2.999. Kicks out the last second. Korakuen Hall just goes. I mean, they're just losing. The roof blew off. They put the roof back on, and they blew it off again. That's what this match was. I mean, this was absolutely incredible. Azumi goes for the underhook destroyer. However, Sai Kamatani escapes it. She goes for a head kick. Azumi ducks, but when Azumi comes back up, Kamatani comes back with the head kick. That's how fast that head kick was. I mean, Azumi sells it like she was dead. Great stuff there. She hits the 360 Star Crusher. You're right, buddy. Kicks out. Nobody kicks out of the 360 Star Crusher. I thought that was a great opportunity for somebody to kick out. Play is molten hot for Azumi. She goes for the 360 Star Crusher again. Azumi gets out. A double Azumi Sushi, and she was so close to the ropes. But you can see Kamatani kind of shoot her shoulders in, but then Azumi properly, go back and watch it, properly hooks the legs and brings them back over. Again, it's the little things in matches that make matches so good. Obviously, Rob, you know where I'm going with this. 5 stars. This is 5 stars. Match of the tournament. Kamatani's wrestler of the year. Not unless Azumi has an absolute stinker on Saturday. She's the rest of the tournament. The only one to me that is close to her for me is Starlight Kid, because this was terrific. This was absolutely great. She had the 2 best matches of the tournament back to back. The only other match that came close to that was almost touched that 5 stars was Azumi and Starlight Kid. How can it get better, Rob Goodwin? What else can we possibly do?
Sorry, Momo Watanabe. Now, this match, up until probably about 5 minutes from the end, was 5 stars. This was everything I wanted their block match to be. And it was still a phenomenal match. I understand the interference. The interference needed to happen. It got too much.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree.
We got far too. Now, if we'd have had this match with a little bit of interference, that completely makes sense. And I'm more than happy with that. This match still gets 5 stars. The amount of interference by the end of this match became comical. And I understand why we're doing it. Sari, is feuding with the entirety of Hate, not just Momo Watanabe. But it took up probably the last fifth of the match. And it just became ridiculous. And it's such a shame because this match, up until that point, was blow away. Like to the point where I was just sat there on the train with my mouth open going, I can't believe what I'm seeing. These 2 women are legitimately trying to kill each other. Like the noise of Sari's forearms off of Momo's chest was just, it was sickening. The noise, the crack it was making. And then Momo would respond with these kicks and Sari would be down. And then we'd have these obscene exchanges of headbutts and bombs being thrown. And it's such a shame that my focus was drawn to the interference. Because it did get to a point where I was like, oh, for God's sake, not again. And I know that's sort of what you're supposed to feel. But also, it started becoming a parody of itself, which is the opposite of what you want from this match. And I know it's supposed to be sort of a dichotomy between Sari's old school style of wrestling and views on wrestling and Hate's views on wrestling. And I understand that that's sort of what we're going to here. I just don't think they quite got the balance right at the end. And again, this match was still brutally good up until that last 5 minutes. And it still got 4.5 stars from me. Incredible match. But I'd have been talking about this as one of, my match of the year without a shadow of a doubt, had we not gone in the excessive direction of the interference at the end.
I agree, Rob. I will tell you right now, I gave it 5 stars. I took away points, but I added points, and I'm sure you know where I'm going to go. All right. So I thought like once the graphic, we just came off 2 great back-to-back matches after intermission. Again, we just talked about them. The graphic comes up for this, and everyone's the Momo didn't even come out yet. People are Momo.
Massive reactions.
Cameraman, genius. Whoever decided to direct this shot, because we know these two have been building, and they had the one match. I'm like, it was great. We just talked about it a little bit ago, but there's a better match in them. And Momo Watanabe is waiting, and there's a shot over Momo's back. And Sari doesn't know what's coming. It's almost like a Friday the 13th or Michael Myers Halloween movie where it's just like, like once that, the person comes in, they're gone. They're gone. They don't know what's coming. We do. We the eyes know what's coming. Sari comes out and she's just like, look at the Korakuen crowd now. And it's coming. You're just waiting for Momo to come into the shot. And boom, and here we go. We're going back and forth. And we're getting this wild brawl. And Sari gets the first advantage. She's smashing Momo's head off the east sign. And the boos are deafening for Sari. She turns around, she's yelling at the fans. I'm like, are we going to get like a 1970s territory style riot? Like, I thought she was going to fight the fans. And then Konami comes up and she grabs Sari. And then here comes Chi-Chi and Miku Kanai. And it turns into very much like we saw, a few days ago. Not only are we getting Momo and Sari, but we're getting Hate versus Miku Kanai and Chi-Chi. Like, they're getting involved, which again, I hope they have like a tag run. I hope Miku Kanai and Chi-Chi, hope maybe they're in the Goddess tournament. Again, this was just brutal. Great stuff back and forth. I totally agree. There was a lot of crazy interference. A little bit too much. But like the middle of the match is with the second rope stomp and then Momo coming back, hitting a bastard driver for a 2 count. Sari hits a crucifix bomb and then just brutal headbutts. She goes off the rope going for that basement dropkick and Konami trips Sari. The Korakuen crowd, because they know when to boo, when to cheer, they're booing Konami because she did a heel thing. But then they realize after booing her for 3 seconds, Rob, they're like, oh, no, wait, we don't like Sari. So then they start cheering Konami. She got booed and then cheered all within 5 seconds. I thought that was great. There's a lot of Konami interference that made you believe, like, clearly we're going to where we're going to go on Saturday with the IWGP Championship. I liked how Hate, they come in to try to get involved, and then Miku Kanai and Chi-Chi, they run them off. I really like that because there was like almost like a 4-on-2 advantage, and Chi-Chi and Miku Kanai kind of held them off a little bit. So you kind of get them over, and that's that aspect, which I really like. Sari finally hits the running double stomp and the running drop kick for a 2 count. Momo Watanabe, she comes back with some forearms. Sari's trying to get the running advantage on Momo. Like, she doesn't want to stay inside Momo's strikes, and Momo realizes that 3/4 of the way through this match. So she grabs Sari so she can't go anywhere, and she just keeps kicking her. Sari's trying to break away, and she can't. Momo's like, nope, kick. Nope, you're not going anywhere. Kick. I like that. You're just seeing Sari just absolutely brutalized, but trying to come back. But the headbutts, the slaps, like just the markings on these 2 warriors' bodies was just absolutely insane. Sari locks in hits the Uranagi for a 2 count, locks in the octopus. Eventually, Hate Crate comes in. The Hate Crate accidentally hits Momo. Where are we going with that? And I thought, that's going to do in Momo. Maybe Sari's going to go to the final. Eventually, though, we get the Hate Crate comes in. Daichi's had enough. Starts yelling at Ruwaka. I liked how she was Sari had Momo in the octopus. And Daichi knew where to be. Again, I think he's the best wrestler in wrestling. He's looking at Momo Watanabe like, are you going to tap? Are you going to tap? And then all of a sudden the hold gets broken and he sees the Hate Crate. So he puts 1 and 1 together, but he can't DQ Momo because he didn't see it happen. So I like how he was keeping the focus on Momo, even though when Sari got hit with the Hate Crate. By that point, Rob Goodwin, it's pretty much too much. Momo with a chair shot to Sari's head. Obviously, that chair was very heavily padded. I still don't like it. I still don't. What we know about concussions, I still don't like it. And then we get the tequila sunrise, the peach sunrise, and then hits another one. And I think because Sari was so close to the ropes, Momo called an audible and then went for another one in the middle of the ring, which I thoroughly liked. So I get it, Rob. I'm totally with you on the interference. It's you as a teacher. Here's how I'm going to break this down. This match was a 95 to a 96, right? The interference is going to be a -5. So we're still at a 90, 91 because of the crowd intensity. I gave it a +10 bonus. So I still had it at 100, 5 stars for me. I completely understand your 4.5. If they decide to run this back another time, I would love for them to do. Everybody's barred from ringside. Maybe we have why Mike is on the shelf because she's impartial. Maybe she's like the special guest enforcer where nobody can come out. We have an actual match where we get rid of the interference. You want to go in the crowd, you want to use the post, that's fine. Relax rules, but no interference. Let's have a straight up match between these two because as great as this match was, again, 5 stars, they have a better match in them without the, pardon my language, the bullshit because of the interference. Again, I totally agree with you, the interference. But holy geez, that crowd was molten hot. And I didn't realize until I watched this show back again, Rob, that when Momo came out for that kind of 4-way face-off to set up for the finals, Momo's face was like scarred up. Like Sorry properly booed her. I mean, she had some bruises.
God. Sorry pulled nothing in this match at all. And she made Momo work for this victory. And the promo that she cut where she was lying on her back and sort of leaning against the ropes looked really cool. But I genuinely think she was struggling. I think she was exhausted because both women gave so much, especially like Sari gave a lot. I don't think we should forego the interference. I think the interference is an important part, especially at this stage in the story. However, it should have been concentrated to one part because you had all of the stuff with Ruaka, then you had all the stuff with Konami, then you had more with Ruaka, and then you had more with Konami, and it's just like, oh, come on, like, when is this going to be enough? And again, I don't think the interference should be stopped because, again, it's telling that story, isn't it, of that dichotomy between Sari's wrestling and Momo's wrestling. It really was a phenomenal match, and the crowd intensity was insanity. But again, it just stopped it from being the match of the year contender that I wanted it to be. Still a fantastic match and still a match that I'm sure is going to get plenty of votes in our end of year awards. But even so, that match that they do have is going to be incredible. That third one, the trilogy. Finally, main event time, and we've already talked about this. I gave this 4.5 stars. And on an emotional level, it could be a 5. Simply to watch Rina, Hana Kimura's protege, win in Korakuen Hall, where Hana won the 5-star, with Hana's move to progress to the semi-finals in her first ever tournament. And there was just something so poetically beautiful about that moment, the reaction she was getting from the crowd. It felt like such an amazing moment. And again, worth pointing out, Rina is a heel. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep her a heel, but she is a heel. I mean, she would make a tremendous tweener if we're using that sort of terminology. I mean, to be fair, there was times when Hana was a tweener, despite being universally beloved. But Rina has that quality. Rina has that aura, that charisma, that star quality at 18 years old. I'm actually a little bit sick with envy at the fact that she's so damn talented at the age she is. And I think Korakuen made their views very clear. Natsupoi, incredible wrestler. Natsupoi, incredibly over. Rina was more over in this match. And to have Natsupoi, who is an absolute star in this company, and have Rina come out and be more over with the crowd speaks volumes as to the star that you have on your hands with Rina.
I think that, you kind of look back at this and like, why did they put this on as the main event? And we even said it's going to be the Saya match or the Momo Sari match that we're probably going to get. Like, because they're going to have Natsupoi win. But then it's like, okay, now I understand why Rina won, because what did we see before this? Kamatani in one of the best matches of the year. And then right after that, Momo. So the hate faction is absolutely white, red, hot. So it's like, okay, and then you close it with a member of hate that you didn't think that would make the playoffs, that people are starting to get behind. and Natsupoi doing the honors. Rina was great. Yes, absolutely. But Natsupoi made sure that Rina got over in the way that she did. The match I thought you have your high-speed style start. Natsupoi gets the advantage. She goes to the top rope for a dive. Rina slams her off the top rope onto the apron, which, as you know, Rob's the hardest part of the ring. And then she takes a chair to Natsupoi's arm and then poses Natsupoi's arm. I'm like, okay, I hope that plays into the match. And it did, because every time Natsupoi tried to get the advantage, that she was holding the arm and Rina would go back to the arm. We had some great near falls. We had the fairy magic. Rina hits the top rope knee bomb. Oh, even before that, she hits the knee bomb because she must have watched the Izumi match. She hits the knee bomb off the apron by Natsupoi's on the floor. Again, this show was absolutely crazy. Natsupoi comes back. She hits that release German, but every time that she gets the advantage, she goes back to holding the arm. The different levels of selling from Natsupoi was really great here. The way she's clutching at, like she tries for the Ferial gift. That scores her 2 count, but can't get the apps. Or she hits the Pharaoh gift, but can't get the actual cover because she's holding the arm. I really like that. Rina counters the Pharaoh ring with the jackknife. That scores her 2.9 count. She hits the Pink Devil. Rina goes for the Vertebreaker, which we've only seen Rina try to do once before against Starlight Kid back at the beginning of the year. And then Natsupoi escapes that with a roll-up for a 2 count. And then we have the Hydrangea into the Hydrangea bomb for 2.9. Back to the Hydrangea. And I figured, all right, Natsupoi's going to get out of this. She'll get to the rope and build towards the finish. And then she's selling. And then she eventually just gives the verbal tap out. And we get the big, whoa, in Korakuen Hall. Massive upset. Having Rina going to the finals, considering the fact that I mentioned this on Monday, partner, when we did a little mini episode. The reason why we only got a 3-minute match with Izumi and Natsupoi is because they're going to save that for the block finals on pay-per-view. Considering the fact how insanely Izumi got over on the show with 2 5-star matches, and now you're going to feed her Natsupoi, who sold out this building about 3 months prior. I thought that was the way to go. They didn't. So you kind of sacrificed Natsupoi for Rina. So I'm like, let's give it a shot. We know Natsupoi, she's going to be fine. She has that wipeout match if she wants. We already built to something to Kamitani at the end of the Rendezvous show. If they want to go back there, they want to put the belts up back on her and Sariano for 4 years. No one will say no to that because they're terrific. So I at first I was like, I kind of don't get it because I think everybody wanted that Izumi versus Natsupoi rematch because we didn't get the full match we got. But at the same time, Teru Okada's like, look, I got to build new stars. Look at everybody that has left since I've taken over. Julia, Utami, Mirai, Tekla, Mina, Tam. I got Micah and Shuri on the shelf. Hazuki didn't want to be in the 5-star. No problem. I'm just going to push all these other people. And that's what he did. And he really pushed Rina. And it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. Absolutely. Natsupoi's a big star. We use Natsupoi to get Rina over to that next level. I mean, that's the way to go about it. That's how professional wrestling works. And again, Natsupoi's going to be great. She's fine. She's going to be, no problem. They want to run her and Starlight Kid back. Natsupoi, you remember, Rob, she didn't have as long as a run with that wipeout as we'd like. Maybe on that second run, we get that 6 to 8 month run. That's a possibility. There's a lot they can do with Natsupoi. I text you as soon as the show was over. I'm like, who wins now? Because we all thought after the playoffs were announced, probably going to be Natsupoi. Now she's not even in that Final Four. And I text you and I said, I can see anybody but Rina. And then I took a step back and had a conversation with Andy Heder. If you're pushing Rina this much, why not go all the way in with her? If she's already there, why not, for lack of a better term, finish the story and let her win this whole entire thing? I wouldn't be shocked if she wins it because I don't think, with the exception of you, buddy, nobody had her in the playoffs. I don't think too many people had her beating B. And then once this match with Natsupoi is announced, I mean, there's no way that Natsupoi is not going to go to the pay-per-view. So now you're like, we're already this far. We may as well put the crown on Saturday, which leads me to Rob Goodwin. Who's winning this thing? Are you going to stick with Momo because that's your pick?
Look, before we head into yourself and Amber's points, I think we need to talk about the semi-final bracket. And in my mind, there's one of 2 ways that they are going to go. And one is that they run a Momo AZ final, where you have Momo Watanabe and Izumi in the final. And we've seen it so often in this tournament. We saw it twice at Korakuen, where Hates nearly cost Momo Watanabe the match. What about if the breaking point for Momo Watanabe is her being cost the final of the 5-star Grand Prix against Izumi, becoming, by the way, the only person to lose to lose 5-star finals twice. I think that could be the breaking point. We've seen her lose with Ruaka. We've seen her lose because of Konami. We've seen her lose because of Tora's interference before. The amount of times that Momo's cost hate matches, but the just frighteningly poor swing of the bat. On the flip side of that, you could do Soriano and Rina. We teased that not long ago. I am going to stick with Momo Watanabe getting into the final, but dude, I've got no idea who's winning this thing. I really don't, because you could make a strong case for all 4 of these women. I mean, whoever wins this, I don't think dethrones Saya Kamatani.
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
And had Natsupoi gone through, I think I said to you on the little mini episode we did on Monday that if Natsupoi went through and won the tournament, she's the only one really that has a conceivable chance of dethroning Saya Kamatani. Now, with the 4 women we've got at the moment, they are very good title defenses for Saya, but I don't think they quite have enough to dethrone her. Obviously, your number one in that regard would probably be Saoriano. However, do we have Azumi? I mean, Azumi has already got a title shot against Saya in the bag. She doesn't necessarily need to win the 5-star to do that.
At the same time, what a momentum builder. I've beaten Saya twice this year. Once in the spring, once here. What a massive momentum builder would be for Azumi. Beat Saya, back before Queendom. Beat Saya in the 5-star. Won the 5-star, and then when Saya beats Azumi, because now Azumi's at a higher level. If Azumi does not win the 5-star and they run that back and Saya gets her win back, Azumi's here, Saya's here. But what if Azumi wins the 5-star? Now she's here, and then Saya beats a 5-star Grand Prix winner, Azumi. That just makes Saya a bigger star. So you can go that way, Rob. I'm going to throw something else at you that I just thought about today. What if it's Rina and Momo in the finals and Hate cost Momo on purpose? And that's her babyface turn. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think they're going to keep Momo in Hate because I think they like that version of Momo. At the same time, we've been planting seeds all year. I can see anybody. I can see any 4 of these women, Rob. But I'm going to.
That's what I mean.
I'm going to make 2 points. I know it's midnight and I told Amber I'd be downstairs for dinner at 6:00, and it's now 7. So we knew this was going to run long, and I apologize for keeping you up that late. I'm going to make 2 points here, my friend. I'm going to say it's Momo and Azumi in the finals, with Azumi winning. Yeah. And I'm also going to say there's no wrong winner here. I mentioned I thought Rina might have been the only one that doesn't make sense, but I just said 2 minutes ago that you're already in, may as well go all in. I think that Soriano is the biggest star of these 4 because of what she's been able to do drawing-wise, and then Oda Ward, right? But I will say this. If you're asking me, Matt Turner, pick a winner based on the one person, because everybody's pretty well equal wrestling status and whatnot, based on the one person that has, and I don't like the word deserved, I'm not going to use it, the one person, these 4, that has deserved it the most, without question, it's Momo Watanabe. Momo Watanabe, because they've been so start and stop with her since 2019 that it's like, yes, no, Bushi Road liked her, Rossi didn't, blah, 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 whatever, all that other, backstage Meltzer BS, believe it or not, whatever. But if someone was to say, Matt, pick a winner, if you were to say pick a winner on who the biggest star is, it's tough. Maybe Soriano. Pick a winner on who the best wrestler is, that's tough. Maybe Azumi. Pick a winner on who you want to put the future behind, that's tough. Maybe Rina. But pick me a winner on who has earned it the most, not even question. Momo Watanabe. And I love Soriano. There's no bigger Azumi fan in the world than me. But on who deserves it the most, Momo Watanabe. So that's my only thing I'm going to say. I'm going to throw my hands up, Rob, and I'm going to enjoy myself on Saturday morning.
Right, Mr. Turner. How do we stand?
Rob Goodwin, points alone, just on the points alone on predictions, coming out of Korakuen Hall, Matt Turner, 108, Amber, 98. Now, getting into...
Just close that gap.
She's down by 10. Now, however, Rob, we're not done, because now we have to pick on who's going into the second round, which obviously Soriano, Suri, Natsupoi, and Saya Kamatani already qualified for buys. So there's points there, and then who's going into the semifinals. So that picked up me an additional 126 points, and Amber only an additional 12. So going into the final night, Amber 114, Matt Turner 134, ball game is over because she has Ami Sourei winning. She won't get those double points. This ball game is over, and I repeat as champion, my friend. Boom.
Look at him. Look at him. He's so proud of himself. He's
I will
proud of
I
himself.
I will tell, and I'll text you tomorrow. I will say that Rob has Ami Sourei as his overall tournament MVP. And how many points does that get him?
Final thing then, ladies and gentlemen, before we end this absolute Leviathan-like episode. Matt Turner, it is time, my friend, for Io and Kairi watch.
As always, big ups to my main man, Darren Chatton. We knew that it'd be Io and Raquel Rodriguez. You figured it'd be a good match, right? It's Io, Raquel. She's a capable hand. Rob. I don't know if you've seen this. This is must see. It's not as good as what we just talked about, but this was phenomenal. Like, this was absolutely great. We get a backstage segment with Asuka apologizing to Io about pushing her. They have a group hug. Kairi's trying to play peacemaker, and she's just like, and Kairi's like, look, if you need us, we'll be there. And Io's like, I need to do this by myself, just me alone. So Io comes out, turn Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel opens up the match. She dominates Io early on in the match. Io winds up hitting a handspring dropkick and a buzzsaw kick that sends Raquel to the outside. This part is very key in the match. She goes for that amazing suicide dive as she runs off the opposite end of the ropes. That dastardly Roxanne Perez trips her. So you're like, boo, right? And then obviously we get more heat onto Io. Io comes back with a series of palm strikes, hits the Joshi dropkick. She goes for the bullet train. Raquel Rodriguez catches her, which I thought was awesome, and then she catches the bullet train. She hits a Samoan drop and then a Vader bomb into an elbow, which I thought was great. Io comes back with a case of Dora double stomp, and then Io comes off the ropes, and Raquel hits a clothesline, and Io does like the shooting star press bump, like bumping all over the place for Raquel Rodriguez. I thought that was great. Io hits a tornado DDT that sends Raquel Rodriguez to the outside. Now Io's going to hit the dive. You know, I always talk about building up spots. Now she's going to hit the dive. So now the crowd's all into like, here we go. As she goes to do the dive, she jumps onto Roxanne Perez. I thought that was great because she's like, wait a minute, that's genius of Io because I tried this before. This jerk tripped me. I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen. So she takes out Roxanne Perez, goes in the ring, does the suicide dive. Raquel catches her and properly Shuri lawn darts Io into the post on the outside. I was like, holy geez, like this match is absolutely incredible. So then she throws Io in the ring. She goes for the Tahana bomb. As she picks her up, you know, the Tahana bomb's like a sit-out chokeslam. As she picks her up, you can see Io whisper something into Raquel's ear, like milk it. Because at this point, everybody's chanting for Io. The crowd's at a fever pitch. Io tells her, hey, relax, let's milk it. She keeps her there a second too long. Io hits a hurricanrana. Raquel sells to the buckle. Bullet train, moonsault for the 3 count. Again, everybody take the time to watch this match. This was great. Io is the best wrestler in this company. This was terrific. We talked a lot of great wrestling in this almost 4-hour episode. This is one match you need to actively seek out. After Io gets the win, Roxanne Perez comes in, 2-on-1 beatdown, Rhea Ripley for the save. And then backstage, we have Rhea Ripley, Io, Kairi, and Asuka arguing because Asuka was like, Rhea, Io said she didn't need any help. There's obviously a big lovers quarrel, and poor Kairi. Like, everybody's yelling except for Kairi. Kairi's just looking there like, I just want everybody to get along. Why can't we just be friends? I don't know where they're going with this, Rob, but I absolutely love this story that they're doing with Io, Asuka, Kairi, and Rhea. Excellent stuff. Again, this match was phenomenal. Just these bumps that Io was taking, and that finish was just top-notch, buddy.
Yeah, and credit to Raquel Rodriguez, who I think has improved tremendously.
She was great
over the last probably 6 months. I think she's massively improved. Ladies and gentlemen, that does bring to an end our episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us for this almost 4-hour episode. Might be 4 hours after I've edited it. I will say now, although you won't hear this until after it's released, so it makes no difference really. I will not be editing this tonight. It will go up tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, it's like 12:15 my time, so no, I need to go to bed. But it will go up tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We truly do appreciate it. If you want to support the podcast, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or leave us a comment and a 5-star review on the audio app of your choice. It really does help us out. Patreon.com/the Stardom Cast if you like all of your episodes early and ad-free. Though this one's not going to be early. Again, as little as $1 a month. All of your bonus content on there on a whole host of different tiers. We've also got our news, show reviews, show previews, all for free as well, that you don't need to sign up to check out. You can find us on social media at the Stardom Cast, as well as on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky, where we are Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and best way to get a hold of me. Or if you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine. The email address simply is the StardomCast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fantastic episode of the 5-Star Grand Prix brought to us right here at the Stardom Cast. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. Like I always say, just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.